What's up, everybody? It's your boy, the Italian Stallion, ready for another episode of Rebels with a Cause. You know what time it is, baby. It's 9:30. It's Tuesday night. It's time for the cause because that cause don't stop when the clock hits zero. Got an action-packed show tonight. Lots to talk about. It was rough Friday night, and I ain't going to sugarcoat it, man. We hadn't gotten beat like that since then, like 3 years ago. And also there was a Powell Walter Nolan thing in there and so forth. We'll get to that. But it was rough, man. It was rough. And I think T.O. James, instead of the Stallion, needs to have a come into Jesus speech with the team and let them know, not that their coaches don't do that for them, but you need to just hear and find that eye of the tiger, honestly, because I didn't see it Friday night. I saw a little bit in the third quarter, but by then you were already down 21-0, and you got to bring it, guys. You got to bring it. We're going to get to it. I know that the coach has his opinions. I know Two-Pair Tate's got his opinions, and I know that my special guest has his opinions as well. Because this Friday night in the game against Central, in the hallowed hills of Bill Wilson Field, off Sutherland Avenue in the heart of Marble City, the OGs, the 2014 state champs, are going to be in the house. Former coaches, hell, one of them is even bringing his team for this and would love nothing more than to celebrate and then also ruin the festivities. We're going to have an action-packed, hopefully big crowd again that will be excited to welcome this. It's region play. It gets serious. This is for playoff seedings and, of course, to honor these guys behind me along with all their other teammates. That was a fantastic 14-1 team that averaged 47 points on offense and allowed 16 on defense for the season. So, and I know that my guest, the great Nathan Cottrell, will be able to talk all about that. We got questions for him. Hope the chat box is hopping and we'll get your questions out there too. But without further ado, got some little house business just to pay the bills, if you get my drift, and so forth like that. First and foremost, the views and opinions of this program are not affiliated with those of any other organization of West High School. This is solely the RWAC Crew. Myself, the Italian Stallion, Two-Pair Tate, Brian Tate, our stats man, the coach himself, Shane O'Mac. So just keep that in mind when you watch and listen to the show. Love your support as always. Hit that like and subscribe button. Punch it if you can, if everything. Also, got to give some shout out to a fellow classmate and his company there off of Sutherland Avenue in the heart of Marble City, Knoxville Coffee Company, Mr. Alex Thatcher. That brew is good any time of the day, so get it while it's hot. No pun intended. And got to give a shout out to my gals over at the Chamber, King's Chamber, Miss Kim Castle and Miss Rachel Davis. They are very soon getting ready to do manicures and pedicures to go along with all the other stuff. Beard trims, razor blade shaves. They get you taken care of. They give you the royal treatment there to make you feel like the true king you are. So go pay them a visit. There's their phone number. Visit them off of Washington Pike. But that being said, let me get my co-hosts on here and then get our guests on here because I know he's a busy man. He's going to tell us what he's doing nowadays and so forth. But always got that cause going. But first and foremost, let's introduce my co-host, my brother, Mr. 2003 West himself, a former football player and basketball player at West, and is currently the voice of the Runnin' Rebels basketball and the Lady Rebels basketball for now almost 19 years, starting in November when the season starts. He is my favorite Florida State Seminole, the one, the only Two-Pair Tate. Brian Tate, what is up, brother?
Well, the Seminoles are still horrible right now. Horrible, horrible football team to watch. Horrible football team to
At
watch.
least we got Tennessee.
At least we got Tennessee.
At least we got
You
Tennessee.
know, at least I love Tennessee and I love Florida State.
Of course.
Being from Knoxville, just always been my two teams of choice. Um, Growing up here, you know, playing ball, being able to play some basketball at UT, just playing around. Yeah, that's one of my favorite schools. And then Florida State, just family reasons. One of my good friends his family, his family friends with the Boulware family.
Okay.
So
All right.
so that's like
Say
one of
no
my
more when
best
you say the
friends.
name Boulware for
Boulware,
Florida State. Come on
exactly,
now. So shoot.
exactly.
Yeah.
So their fam, like one of my family friends, um, my man Lowe, that's actually, the Bowears, he's related to them. So I've always had ties, but he didn't even know that I was a big Florida State fan. But yeah, they're a pretty bad football team, man. Pretty
Uh,
bad. But
I
the
just can't
the
believe it.
guy that we have on the night though,
Oh,
like we gotta guess, like
this is
when
some
you're
serious business right here. So this is
when you're
serious.
one of those guys to be the first, and I know you're gonna cut a super promo tonight. Like
Hmm.
I got on the official Rebels hoodie for this one because it's a little cold in my house after what I witnessed. What I witnessed, like this might be the game where we have the less highlights of West. This is the
Hmm.
first time where we videotaped a full game or scrimmage, and there's not a ton of highlights. There's
No,
not a. This was one of those low light games. Turnovers hurt us, and I want to say we put the mark. We put the mark. We put the mark on those guys. Like we really put the mark on those guys, and I feel bad because a lot of it can be placed on us, but they got to play the games.
that's right.
We're just we're putting it in a way. West never had media like this. We
Mm-mm.
didn't have media when Nathan Cottrell was burning up the field, cutting on a dime on people. Seth
Mm.
Marshall throwing dimes. We didn't have that when Jake Ryan was there. We didn't have it when Hootie Henderson is scoring. We didn't have it when Larry Williford was making plays. We didn't have it when you were making defensive stops. When Shane
Absolutely.
is making stops in the defensive backfield.
Or Michael Lynn's knocking out quarterbacks. So I mean,
Michael
shout out to
Lynn, the
Michael
Troy
Lynn. So
Smiths, the Scott
yeah.
Odersons, the Boss Graves, the Doug Madisons,
Mark
the
Giles, shout out to him. So
Mark Giles,
94
you know what I'm
team,
saying? The Dixon
Turbo.
Greenwoods,
Mm,
Turbo, the Nelson twins. We didn't have that. Sean Bowman. We didn't have media covering that. And if we did, it was a guy named Jerome Taylor with inside perspective down at Knoxville Community Television. So
mm,
we are of a new age where kids now, you have a podcast at your high school
mm.
where they're talking about Wyatt DeRoche making plays on the defense. They're talking about Davis Neely making plays. They're talking about JPP. And then other schools are going to fuel that to play you. They're going to
Mm,
use everything we say good about you in these podcasts to when they beat you, they talk about you,
absolutely.
and that's one of them things where I just was looking at it, and I think I told you like the Bearden loss. I was like, maybe we lay it on a little thick. Like maybe we're too pro everything that's good, and then when we say what is bad, it comes to light during the games. And
Possible.
it's stuff we talked about since the Gibbs first scrimmage. Like
Yeah.
when we really started getting the ball rolling, and now we're up to like episode 41, 42. Is this
41.
41?
Yep. 41.
Episode 41, you got Nathan Cottrell as the guest tonight. You know what I'm saying? Like
On the eve of the 2014 OG team that started these rings,
they started it.
they did, and they very well could have almost had a fourth one, in that 2013 game that was heartbreaking, and we're going to talk about that
Mhm.
with the 1 point loss to Henry County. So they could technically have 4 state championships right
Yeah.
now, honestly.
Yeah,
So
you
yeah, for
and
sure.
and
So.
for Nate and those guys to get back.
Oh, I mean,
Oh
most
man.
teams
Like
most teams don't come
most teams
back
don't
when they
get
lose the
back.
Super Bowl, or the big one. And I want him to talk about that, honestly.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I know we got to get Shane on here real quick, and then we'll get Nathan on here because I know the guests
Waiting
chat rooms
anxiously.
already up there and so forth. And like I said, I want to give a shout out to Josh Cottrell and Cuban Kane. Anybody else? Say hello, say whatever, man. Honestly, but need to bring on my other co-host, another brother of mine. He is our stats guy. He has been nicknamed by our quarterback, Parker Dubon, the coach, and he's got that whistle ready to blow because I know he's got a lot to talk about, and I hope he really gives it as well tonight and brings it. I know he's tired. He's had a long week and everything, but let's bring him on. Father of the Year, Mr. Shane O'Mac, Shane McGee. What is up, baby?
How we doing tonight, man? I'm ready to get this show going. Friday night sucked. Let's just say it how it is. It sucked.
Oh man, it
did. Nothing that we've talked about isn't on film.
Mm-hmm.
So the boys got to come out and execute.
Yep.
If we can see it in the stands, and I can see it, and I can say, well, these are what issues I've seen. I've talked about them openly already. Watch our podcast. I don't care. We're not doing anything that you're not seeing on film. We got corrected. That's all it is.
Hey, listen, our time. Let me tell you something. When this 40-year-old whose time has been long past is motivating kids or for other teams or whatever, I don't know what to tell you, man. I didn't need nobody to motivate me. I was ready to beat the shit out of whoever we played week in, week out. We didn't give a damn. No. And let me tell you this, even if we lost, I wanted the other guy on the other side to know, hey, my name is the Italian Stallion. Nice to meet you. You're going to be getting to know me all game long. And that's how these guys need to be every time. I mean, let me tell you this. They're great kids. They are. And I love them, all 146 of them. But I'm going to tell you this right now. Nobody, I don't give a damn who it is, if it's even IMG, comes into that stadium and throws you around like that ever again.
Yeah.
You need to go out there and punch somebody in the face and literally find that eye of the tiger again. I'm talking, you go out there and you let them know who you are, okay? Mm-hmm. Because all they see is the 5A champions and the banners and our podcast, whatever. But here's the thing. You go out there and you let them know who you are and you make a name for yourself. This is your story, guys. You're halfway through the season. This is game 5. I mean, we're going to be in playoffs in a month, man. Playoffs! You know, I mean, honestly, shout out to that idiot. But anyway, but literally. And this Friday night, it gets even more serious because it's a guy that used to coach there at West who's building a program himself, a team that has been a thorn in your side and has prevented you from a championship in 2019. I went there. And on top of it, it's region play. And now it's time to get your seeding if you really are going to make a difference, honestly. So, yeah. And listen, look, Larry Frank, shout out from Louisiana. He even writes here, former offensive lineman. I used to tell the opposition, happy Friday. Tell your mom I'll see her after the game. Son took him out of his element. That's the great Larry Frank right there. That's Larry a Cajun. That's my favorite Cajun. So, absolutely.
Larry Frank always gives us one every week,
brings it, man.
Shout out to Larry Frank. Shout out to Louisiana. Larry Frank. Shout out to Josh Cottrell. Shout out to the
Cuban Kane. He's my arch rival. He's my arch rival. So yeah. So
the old Cuban Kane.
Yeah, him and me have a rivalry of who knows more about Miami Hurricanes football. So we will have a great debate. We still haven't found the time and the place, but he loves to give me shit all the time. So, but I love.
We need to do that. We need to do a college.
Need to invite him on the podcast in the off season.
Hey, you know what? So. We need to do that. We need to do decade debates with Miami over their team. We need to do that. We'll do that.
I'll have to bring it. So for sure.
You know it.
Yeah. Shout out to us. Thank you, Larry Frank. Thanks for all the love. Everybody that's on, please hit that like and subscribe button. It's Rebels with the Cause every Tuesday night, and we talk all things West, and we even talk some college football and NFL football. And the guy that I'm bringing on now, and I'm going to give him his proper introduction. He's waited long enough in that backstage.
He has, man. He has.
I'm going to tell you this right now. This guy played at all 3 levels. And so I'm going to give him his proper introduction. He is the greatest all-time running back in West history. 4,000 yards total amassed. He was taken out at halftime of games. So it could have been 8,000 if they'd left him in the whole game. All that stuff that you used to hear about Mr. Football, it wasn't even fair back then because you had to pick one person. Now they give a lineman and a skill player in each of the respective classifications.
He should have been Mr. Football 30 times.
30 times.
30
He
times.
found a hole. It was gone every time. I don't think I ever saw him get run down once. He is known as White Lightning. I believe he was the 2014 KFL Offensive Player of the Year. He led West to 2014 state championship and was the Blue Cross MVP with 225 total yards and 2 touchdowns and would not be denied 2 years in a row of taking home that gold ball and that ring. He was a standout at Georgia Tech, even scored a touchdown on my Canes, and it was the only time I rooted for him against Miami. The only time I rooted.
The one time in life.
I did. And when he scored that touchdown, and I'm going to say it because it's all real tonight, fuck you, Manny. That's what I said. So fuck you, Manny Diaz. Anyway, but with that being said, he made it even to the Jacksonville Jaguars, even despite a coaching change in an offensive philosophy while his time at Georgia Tech. He didn't let a torn ACL ruin his career. He made it to the NFL and even scored a touchdown in the preseason game, and it's on YouTube, baby, and it was beautiful. He's retired now, but he's taken the time to come on this show, the Rebel with a Cause, my favorite Rebel player of all time, the one, the only, Mr. Nathan Cottrell himself. Let's give him up, baby. Give him a Rebel with a Cause.
Clap it up. Clap it
What's
up,
up, fellas?
Clap it
What's
up.
going on, everybody? Appreciate y'all having me on, man. I'm excited to talk ball with you all tonight and just get down into it. The praise was way too much, but thank you so much. I
No,
appreciate it, man.
needed.
I appreciate
It's
it.
needed.
You put
Now it's
West
needed.
on the map. I don't give a
Yes,
damn
you
what
did.
anybody says.
Yes, you
You
did.
put the flag in the middle of Cookeville and said, "Here you go, everybody. We're here." So,
Man, straight
Oh,
up.
man, I appreciate
Straight
it.
up.
I appreciate it.
yeah.
Now, Nate, you know, if you're familiar with our show,
Let me get the question.
I'm so
I gotta
glad
get
that
it out. I gotta get it out.
so glad to have you on the show. What you were able to do, like watching it in real time and being on here with you is like, dude, that was some phenomenal shit. Like just to watch it, it was just phenomenal to see. Yeah, we curse on the show, but it was just phenomenal to see, like going back to the West games. But there's a question we ask everybody on this show: who was the first person to bust your ass on that football field?
Yup. I was ready for this, and I'm trying to I gotta find his name real quick. 1 second.
Oh, I love it. He's got
I
the
remember
curses.
it. No, man. I gotta get it. I gotta get it going. This because it was outrageous. Hold on.
He's looking through the Rolodex. Yes.
I love it.
I had it pulled up.
I love it.
I love it.
Man, 1 second. This is gonna kill me if I can't find it.
Oh no, this is great.
Well, he's
you
doing
can
this
take as long as you
chat box,
need.
so.
Oh, I got it. All right. So, no, it was crazy. So I had I think it was my sophomore year. It might have been my junior year of high school. I think it was sophomore year. Because we went to the semifinal sophomore year, right?
Sophomore
No,
year.
it was
Yeah,
actually
yeah.
you got beat in the second round by
No,
Bill.
second round. Yeah. Yep. That's right. Freshman year was semis. All right. So I had just got out of track practice. We were in spring ball. And me and Seth Marshall came over. We came in late because we obviously had track practice during the whole spring. We would always go to practice first, and then we would kind of come over to football. And we were running through. I might have even been on a scout team at this point. I don't remember. But we weren't doing like a full speed drill, right?
Yeah.
So I get a little jet sweep, or I think I was going to the left side of the field. And so I'm, going through the motions a little bit. And this man, Zach Stewart, I don't know if you remember this name.
Oh,
Big
defensive end. Yes.
Yeah.
Stewart.
This man lays me out. And Coach Cummings got so mad at him. He was like, "What are you doing? Why are you got it?" Like I'm talking, pulled his face mask, something he would get in trouble for now. if someone saw it on TV. But no, it was that's the first time, man. And I was like, all right, welcome to what I thought then. Welcome to the big leagues. So yeah, that was the first one. I remember that so vividly. It hurt really bad.
It's always sophomore year because it's like, oh, I'll stud freshman year. Everything's fine. Oh, no, here we go.
Yep.
Welcome to varsity. So,
yeah, welcome to it. It was a rude awakening, but honestly, it opened my eyes. I was like, all right, at all times, keep your head on a swivel. So from then on out, it didn't happen again. But
never. Yeah.
Didn't happen again. Not in high school, at least.
That's cool.
You know, Nate, this was a question that I wanted to ask off of like, I don't have a banner created for it, but I wanted to ask you, you know, how tough was it, though, because there was such a deep stable of running backs that you did want to get on the field that sophomore year, and you were finding yourself playing defense in the defensive backfield. I mean, you'd get some time a little bit behind Seth and oh my God, his name escapes me at the moment. Big back you played with back there. Oh shoot! Oh my goodness! Oh my gosh!
I don't remember.
What is his name? Oh, I can see him too. But anyway, but like you were behind them, and literally you're on the field playing defense and so forth. But then it was your junior year. You know, Seth got moved to quarterback, Ryan graduated and so forth, Francis. So basically it was you in the backfield now taking handoffs from Seth. You know, talk about that sophomore year going into that junior year for you, honestly, playing defense and then offense.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so growing up, playing like Pee Wee football, I played at Halls Community. All growing up, I didn't play at West or anything like that. So that was also another transition, was coming into West and just meeting all these people that have played with each other, you know, forever. So freshman year was a bit of a transition as well. But yeah, no. So I played both sides of the ball growing up, so I was kind of used to it. But I wasn't used to the fact that at West, at least, it's not every high school has the luxury, but we played one side of the ball mainly. Because we had enough people, we had enough talent. So I played safety. I started out as free safety. It was me and Alec Ewart. One of my good boys. I haven't talked to him in a minute, but we used to call each other we were our Thunder buddies. I can't remember what movie. I think it was Ted. The movie Ted.
Ted, the original Ted. I love it.
Yeah. So we would always, like, after we got a big player, big hit, we'd be like, Thunder buddies for life. It was so funny. But yeah, no. So it was a lot of fun though. I mean, I like playing defense. I like hitting people. And it was just a good time. I know, obviously, you know Mark Giles pretty well, so he was pretty upset about that the whole year. I didn't know this until after I'd graduated, and we kind of could talk real at that point, because I didn't know what was going on behind the scenes. I wasn't in coaches' offices or anything like that. But he was pulling for me to get on the offensive side of the field quite a bit, and it wasn't in the cards that year. I mean, hell, Seth Marshall was absolutely incredible. I can't remember who the other running back was, but I mean, we had a great offense.
Wasn't he number 14? He was number 14. I can see him. Who was that? I mean, oh my goodness.
I can't remember.
I'm looking him up. Keep talking.
But
I'm looking him up.
But anyways, I mean, so it wasn't like I was upset. I was getting to play. I wasn't mad at anything. I was grateful for the opportunity to play.
Yeah.
Sophomore year, early on. I mean, that felt early on to me, because we didn't really hear people, even when I was growing up and watching, you know, Hall's football. Because my oldest brother Dorian played there. So I went to all the Hall's football games growing up, and they didn't start freshmen ever. They didn't start sophomores. So you usually didn't see the field until your junior or senior year.
Right.
So I mean, like I said, I was grateful to get to play, and I enjoyed playing safety, and I had some great coaches helping me out then. But obviously, it wasn't my most comfortable position. I'll be honest, I was not good at it. I should not have been playing. I mean, I look back at those games, and I'm just like, dang, I was all over the place. The game was moving fast. I couldn't slow it down. I didn't know what was going on. I was just trying to make a play. That actually brings me to a point. I did get ran over against Farragut my sophomore year. And I remember that play really well, because I remember my brother Dorian came to me after the game, and he said, why did you just wait on him? I was like, what are you talking about? I feel like I ran full speed. He's like, no, you sat there and he ran you over. And I was like, yeah, he did. But anyways.
Tough love from the brothers. So
yeah,
Love from the
always. But yeah, no, I mean, it was a lot of fun. But obviously junior year when I finally got to go to offense, I mean, that's where I felt the most comfortable. And I don't know. I took advantage of the opportunities. Like I said, we still had me and Seth and Justin.
Yeah, Justin. That was his name, right? Hodges.
Yes, Justin Hodge. Sorry,
Justin Hodge.
We had us three back there in 2013. And I mean, that was a three-headed beast right there. We had Justin was a power back of all power backs. We always called him a little pinball because he would just bounce off tackles. But then you mix, Seth was strong as an ox too. He could run the ball. He was fast as lightning as well. So I mean, that was a lot more fun to me. I like getting the ball. I like the offensive side. But yeah, no, once I finally got that opportunity, I was just like, you know what? Let's just run with it, see what happens. So I was glad the coaches finally put that trust in me that year to kind of help the team out.
Shane, go ahead. What you have a question for him, bud?
What was the toughest transition as you moved away from high school to college and then college to the NFL?
Yeah. Honestly, the biggest jump was high school to college because I always say the game speeds up. But, I mean, in high school, I'm little 183-pound me.
Yeah.
Like, I can't get that much faster. Like, I feel like I'm pretty quick. But just the speed of the game, I think, was the hardest transition. Just how much faster everyone is at that level. I mean, you're playing against, and I always say this, it's just, and it happens even again in the NFL, but you're playing against the best of the best. So it was like, all right, in college, you were playing against all the studs of their high school team that were all standout players in their own respect. So getting used to that was interesting. And then obviously, my freshman year coming in, it's the second day of full pads in camp. I had made it through the first off season, summer workouts went good. I was feeling really good and ended up getting my knee blown out off of just a bad hit.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember the play vividly. I took another sweep around the left side. I was running up the sideline and with Coach Johnson as well, it was full speed all the time. I mean, we were full speed tackle, not like it is today where everybody's doing this little thud and wrap up and let the guy go and let him keep running.
Yeah.
It was full tilt. So I was like, all right, let's do it. So went around the edge. A receiver unfortunately missed his block. I didn't see it. I'm looking inside, about to cut in. As soon as I planted, dove straight through my knee, blew my knee out. So that transition was tough. I mean, it just is what it is. And then I kind of had a year to become more of a student of the game, if you will. I still went to all the meetings, got to sit in on all the film study and all of that, which obviously that's even another thing, is just the amount of film you watch from high school to college. Because, I mean, in high school, we watched film probably twice a week. We would watch more with our coaches, one-on-one, but we didn't get the same amount that we did in college. So that was kind of a big learning year for me, and then kind of got the ball rolling from there. Got to play a few more years after that on offense and all that stuff. So that was fun. But then the next transition to the NFL, that one was more eye-opening, I guess. You just see the business side of things a lot more. A lot of politics involved, a lot of not favoritism, but I mean, the guys that they paid millions of dollars are obviously going to get, all the looks. So I would come into practice during camp, my first camp. And I mean, I would get 3 reps a day. So I had to take advantage of every single one just to say, hey, I can do this too. Like, give me a shot. So the more you do that, obviously, the more opportunity you get. And thankfully, I had an awesome special teams coach at that point. And I don't know how much we're going to get into. But that transition to just strictly special teams was also quite a transition because I hadn't tackled anybody since high school. But, you adapt, and I think that's kind of how you kind of just keep getting the door open for you. You just keep adapting and changing with the with your surroundings, with your environment, and see how you can grow from there. So
to transition to the next question, two-pair, this is what you wanted to ask Nate next, by the way.
Yeah, like, so I know, like, when I first saw you play, it was as a sophomore.
Mhm.
And I just kept saying to myself, when I was watching you, I kept saying, the way that you're able to hit the edge of the perimeter and turn up this other worldly, like, speed, like, I don't know. I feel like you did grow up where you played pick up the smear. There
Oh no, we definitely did. That's me and my brothers. We used to go in the basement and we would play what we called couch football. My
Couch
brothers
football.
would set up cushions behiund them that I would
Yep.
have to try to get to. That's a crazy memory. I forgot I even had that. But yeah, no, we would play that in the basement, and it was crazy. It was that was an interesting time. But no, I'll let you continue. Sorry, I didn't mean to
Yeah,
interrupt. I just wanted to keep
that's great.
That's
No,
good
need
stuff.
that.
I didn't know that. That's awesome.
No, that's
So,
a great story because it was just like from your running style. I always used to think that I was like, man, this dude run like Eric Metcalf with a mix of just that breakaway speed. It sometimes I've really felt like watching you put me in that mind of Christian McCaffrey, like just the certain ways you run. Like if it was a comparable player, you know what I'm saying, and a little bit of like Marshall Faulk. But how did your like preparations? Like how did that preparation from like high school to each level, like, and then who did you model your game after? Like this like a two-part question.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, to answer your first part, and I'm gonna even take it back to freshman year. I had a bad, really, 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 really bad ball security problem, and I honestly think that's probably part of the reason why too sophomore year I didn't get to play offense was because legitimately I remember freshman year I think we were playing Farragut. I fumbled the ball 5 times in a freshman game. We still won somehow. But that's because we had great athletes around me. I had Seth Marshall. I mean, Buddy was just making plays left and right. We had great receivers. I mean, Alex Birch, Max Bacon, Tommy Pridemore, Noah Hoxie. I mean, we had a squad, so I would kind of help pick up my slack. But yeah, no. After that year, Coach Mark Giles, I owe just so much to this man. He really molded me into the player I would continue to become. We worked tirelessly on just random ball security drills because that was my biggest issue. You know, God blessed me with an incredible speed, and I'm thankful for that. So that was kind of, but I needed to figure out how to control that speed because I would just run aimlessly. That was
I was the same way. Like I could never control my speed.
Yeah, I mean, heck, I still struggled with that even when I got to the league. It's just times it's just my feet would get in front of me. It was crazy. But no, I mean, he really did. I owe him so much. He taught me a lot. I remember one thing he always said, it was like, you X the ball. Like anytime I was getting tackled in traffic, like you can see pictures of me where I've got the ball like this. And we'd always call it exit, exit, exit. So we just, harped on that. It's ingrained into my brain and memory that I will have that forever. But yeah, no, just doing drills like that really helped to just kind of solidify my running, I guess, style, and just helped me grow in that respect. And then obviously got more comfortable with it. But yeah, and then I guess who I molded my game after, one of my favorite running backs growing up, or there's a lot. I love LaDainian Tomlinson. He ran the ball like just a freak. Eddie George back in the day with the Titans was just an animal. That's why I wore at Halls when I was growing up. I was always number 27, just because Eddie George. I was like, that's who I want to be when I grow up. Like I want to be like that. And never did I think I would amount to that. It's just that was my aspiration. Set the bar high. I mean,
it worked. Look, it worked. It worked.
I was blessed, and I was given the abilities to keep playing, thankfully. But yeah, no, I mean that's kind of it. And I guess the older I got, my preparation went from solely focusing on the field to really getting in the classroom and studying film. I realized just how big of, honestly, it's like a cheat code. You're watching what they're going to do every time. They're not going to change. And you might get, a little bit of there might be one formation that's just a little bit different. But at the end of the day, the defense is going to end up at the exact same spot. So it's just the more I kind of learned that really helped me kind of slow the game down on the field. So I was able to make decisions faster. So that was, I think, probably the main part where I grew the most was just, the mental aspect of the game, not just physical. Because you've always got your physical backing, but your talent can only take you so far. You've got to study and prepare for what you're going to face. So, and if I could go back, I would tell myself that in high school, and I would watch film and take it way more seriously than we did, because we were always just cutting up in the back, like, oh, we're going to be fine, yada, yada, yada. Just locker rooms. But yeah, no, if that answers your question, that's kind of where that would be.
I wanted to, it's funny that you mentioned that, because, you look at the banners that are up there. There were some really good teams that just got to the top, but just couldn't quite get over there, or quite get to the finish line. I think about 94, with your coach, Mark Giles, that group. Bill Wilson was their coach. They fell short to Eric Westmoreland, national champion Eric Westmoreland, and Marion County, and so forth, in the semifinals. 2010 really started a big shift for West football. They lose to Shaq Mason, who was actually another Georgia Tech grad that played for the Patriots
he's
in Columbia.
Still balling.
He's still balling
now.
He's still balling. Yeah, he's ageless.
Yeah, he's a beast.
And it took the coldest game, Columbia Central. Columbia Central wins 7-0, and ends up winning the state championship. Then the following year, your freshman year, you lose to Powell, and Powell ends up losing to Henry County in the state championship. But it was your 2013, your junior year, where you guys hosted Cleveland. And realistically, going into that game, you had gotten a little hurt in that Anderson County for that, and so forth. But what made you guys just come out that night and say, we're not state semifinalists anymore, we are going to play for the 5A state championship? Talk about that special night, the day after Thanksgiving, against Cleveland.
Are you talking about 2013?
2013, yes. It was a home game. And
up
against Anderson County.
Yeah. So the Anderson County game, we'll talk about that a little bit too. Honestly, I'm not gonna lie, they played a little dirty. I had gotten tweaked I think it was my left ankle. It was a minor sprain at the point, and then I got in the bottom of a pile, and one of the dudes are just yanking it, I can remember looking down, and my foot is just being turned, and I'm like, what is going on? So I'm on the sideline of that game, and at this point we pretty much had it won, but I was just so mad at that point because of the stuff they were doing. I was like, all right, if we get the ball back, I'm going back in. I'm literally, I kid you not, sitting on the trainer's table, and they're taping my ankle up. I'm like, no, you're good, just rest. And I think my dad was even on the side at that point, and I don't remember what I said to him. It's probably not appropriate, but we just went back in, and I was like, nah, give me my helmet. I'm going in. We're finishing this out. And so that honestly just put a chip on my shoulder for that. And I was like, all right, well, next week I'm going to heal up. I'm going to get ready, and we're going to go out, and we're going to take care of business against Cleveland. And two, I think Cleveland loved to talk trash. They did it all the time. I mean, we just got all kinds of stuff from them, because that's when kind of Instagram started to blow up. So we were getting DMs and comments, and I'm just like, they don't know what's coming for them. We were ready for them. We weren't gonna take.
This is Instagram era.
Yes.
Instagram was blowing up. I mean,
can I say this? The coach, sorry to interrupt you, Nate, but the coach actually blamed the reason why they lost the first game against West was because of a traffic accident on I-75, and they didn't have enough time to warm up, by the way. This is real stories, by the way, honestly. And so they come up there day after Thanksgiving. There shouldn't be there's no school. You're off for that 4 days. You got nice food and everything. And, Nate and the boys welcomed them to West, and it was running clock by halftime. Honestly.
I was about to say, that's just another one of those games. You touched on it. the starters are out at halftime. We went in, we handled business, and our job was done. So that was just, we were ready to go. We were ready to go, man.
Shout out to Coach Cummings. It was so cold that night. He realized they were going to win and go on to state, and he actually had one of the ball boys go get his jacket so he could finally get the water cooler poured on him. That's a true story, by the way. Yeah.
Yep. I believe it.
I did want to just go into the next question real quick. So, you got all that momentum. You are going to play Henry County, who had won a state title 2 years before against Powell. You line up against them. They're bigger, but realistically, you guys hit them in the mouth right off the bat. And just talk about that game. It was just a weird game. It was raining. It was cats and dogs. It was probably the worst conditions ever. Guys, you already were without Alex Birch, and then Max Bacon gets hurt early on with a concussion. Just talk about that game and how weird it was, and just everything that went from it and so forth. So,
man, from what I can remember, I had a short memory about that game just because after the game, that was a really tough loss. We came out swinging though. I mean, we were ready to play, and then. Obviously, it was raining. It was freezing cold. We had wool blankets on the sideline because we didn't have any of those fancy jackets that they got now. We were just out there slumming it, trying to stay warm. And, we ended up coming up short. That loss is still to this day. It was just one of the hardest losses I've ever taken personally. I mean, we had so many opportunities to win that game. Towards the end of the fourth quarter – this is where I don't even know if I've told Cummings this, but we just did the play. I did not think at the time. I think we could have called better plays, and it was just, dang, man. I hope we get another chance. And at that point, obviously, we didn't know what was in store for us in the next season. But I knew I didn't want to feel that pain again, and I knew I didn't want to have that loss hang over me, for my high school career. So it was just, I think the team learned a lot. I think the juniors of that team, what would be my senior class the next year, we kind of buckled down at the end of the year. And once we started even into the winter workouts, it was just like, all right, there was just something different. We had a different mindset every day. We were in the weight room. We were running. We were competing in almost every aspect. And I think that really, honestly, that loss, I think, ended up helping us. It was kind of a blessing in disguise. I think we needed that to go into the next season. Obviously, it would have been great to win. And I hate that we didn't win for those seniors because they still give us grief about it when we see them like, oh, y'all went and won next year, yada, yada, yada. And like, buddy, you don't know how bad I wish we could have won that game for you all because we had a lot of great leaders on that team. And my running back to my right, Justin Hodge, I still keep up with him as much as I can, through social media. But it's just like we had some ballers on that team. Cody Underwood on defense, just some great dudes.
Khalil was a beast.
Khalil
Whitford
was a dog. Good grief, yes. I haven't heard that name in forever. Yep. But we had some studs, man. I mean, we had a great team. I wish we would have won, but obviously didn't. But we took that loss to heart. We knew we weren't going to let it happen again. So,
absolutely, Shane. We got a question about that season. So now we're in 2014 season for him. So
Let's see. What would my question be? I've got to submit my questions this week. I've been busy with work and practice.
He didn't do his homework assignment, but it's okay. I'll let it fly this time.
No, rip him off the fly. It's all good. I'm not worried about it.
So I was going to say, what's your favorite memory across your football career?
My favorite memory of my whole football career. Wow, that's a loaded question. I mean, obviously, winning state was the highlight, I think, of my early career. Other than that, I mean, I think just the opportunities I got in general. I got to do a lot of things that I dreamed of when I was little. I mean, I remember I was sitting there with one of my best friends, Cody Dowdy, growing up. He would always look at me like, "You're going to go D1." And I'm like, "No, I'm not. Like, I'm not worried about that. We'll see what happens." But then that dream turned into reality. And that was just, I mean, that's, like I said, that's more than, a lot of people can say. And I'm blessed and forever grateful for that I got that opportunity. And then again, just getting to play in the league. I mean, that I never thought in a million years that would happen, especially, my senior year of my redshirt senior year of college. We had a whole coaching change. I touched the offensive field twice that year. The whole rest of the time I was playing special teams. But I mean, I took that year and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to give my all. It's all I can do at this point. I'm bought in. I bought into the new coaching system. I tried to prove myself as much as I could. And, then I remember we were watching film one day in college my senior year, and my coach came up and he said, "Did y'all see all the NFL scouts that were here today?" And I hadn't even thought about the NFL at this point. Yeah. And they go, who do you think they were here for? I didn't raise my hand. We had a really good tight end that year in Tyler Davis. And I was like, they were probably here for him. I mean, he's still playing. And he looked me dead in the eye and said, "They were here for you." And I was like, what? No way. So then I was like, all right, you know what? I'm just going to keep doing what I can on special teams and see if I can try to make a career out of it. And, again, I was lucky enough and blessed enough to get to go play a couple years in the NFL and got to play a lot of special teams. So it was, I think just those opportunities in general are my favorites. Honestly, I don't think I have just a specific, play or game or anything like that. It's just, as a whole, that was just incredible. And like I said, I know I'm blessed for that. And I know a lot of people don't get to do that. And I never took it for granted. So if that answers your question, it's kind of a roundabout way to answer your question. But
as a guy who coaches a bunch of kids, I've got some kids that they've made on some D1 rosters and stuff like that. I mean, that's probably what I expect to hear from them too. I got a former player over at Tennessee State right now that he's balling out now, and I went to walk on at UT and stuff like that. So getting the opportunity and making the best of it is what you do. That's the highlight. You got to live the dream that all of us, we all started growing, was like, that's what we wanted to do.
Right.
Two-Pair, you had another question. You going back to that 2014 special year. Go on ahead and ask this one, brother.
Yeah. So besides winning state championship, what was the game that really sticks out in your mind that defined that season? Like there's that game where it just sticks out in your mind, like, we're going to win state. Like, this is it. Like, what was that game during that run?
Yeah, and we kind of talked about this off camera. That Ray County game, man. So as a semifinal game, there was a lot of stuff that happened that was not in our control. They scored some touchdowns with illegal players down the field. I remember even after that game when we had won, I think it might have even taken a year. I was actually talking to Scott Cummings about this when they came down to Atlanta for my my little retirement party that my wife threw for me, which was awesome. Shout out to my wife if you're watching this. I love you. But yeah, no, we were sitting there talking, and they literally came to Coach Cummings' office and apologized for calling the game so poorly. But I remember the last play where we ended up winning was a pass from Seth Marshall to I think it was Jeremiah Russell in the back of the end zone. And I was like, there's something different about this team, man. We just didn't give up. Even though by that point, the refs and whatever else happened, they tried to lose that game for us because they had the home cooking of Ray County. Their fans were jacked up. They were that was one of the loudest environments in high school I had been in. It was crazy. They were nuts. But we ended up winning that game, and from then on, I was like, you know what? I'm not going to let the refs take any control. We're going to go in and we're going to dominate when we get into state, and that's kind of what we did. So Yeah, that Ray County game, that one still gets me fired up. Golly, just thinking about it.
I gotta watch
that
tape
was
of that again.
I
it's
want to
on
go back and
YouTube.
watch it too. That was
It's on
crazy.
YouTube. It is. I mean, it's crazy because like to reiterate that story a little bit more, Nate. 4 out of the 7 officials that were calling that game were former players of Ray County's coach at the time, Mark Pemberton, who's now at Campbell County, by the way.
Wow.
So they were trying to help.
I didn't even know. That's
Man, let me tell you something.
You got more
You
details
wanna know
about this stuff
something,
than I
you
do.
come to
I
the
know.
Italian stallion.
I
Okay,
know.
come on
I
now.
know.
All
We're
right.
gonna
So,
figure it out.
yeah.
Oh,
Now listen.
man.
But I ain't no
Good.
snitch either. But at the same time, I mean, look, the story turned out good. But here's the thing: what damn good would an apology be that you robbed what were there 80 of you guys on that team or whatever? It robbed 80 of you guys. It's like, oh, sorry, we wanted our old dear coach to get their ass whipped by Hillsborough next week or whatever like that, because that's what would have happened. Ray County, I mean, you guys had them beat. You all had them beat, and I'll tell you, it's a miracle that referee, because they looked at each other. I was like, don't you dare call him out. That's a legit catch at the back of the end zone. Jeremiah laid out for that. Seth threw it perfectly, and it's like touchdown, and we're going to state. And here's the thing: you guys should be so happy. There's tears in the damn huddle with Cummings on the field. I was there for it, and
I remember Jeremiah came running up to us. We all hugged. He was crying. Everybody was that was such an emotional win. I mean, I really think that one set the tone for that whole year. That one game set the tone. It was just like they tried to take it from us, and we just weren't going to let them. It was, man, that was a special game. That was a special game.
We got a question in the chat box, by the way, from our favorite Cajun from Louisiana, Larry Frank. He says, if you can go back to West and do it all over again from high school to college to the pros, what's the one thing you enjoyed the most and would do again?
Yeah. I've gotten this question or a question similar to that quite a few times. And my answer is always this: high school football is the most fun you are ever going to have in your entire life.
Yep.
I think there's just nothing like it. You're with some of your best friends every single day. You get to be the high school heroes on your campus, and you get to walk around and be the big man and all that. It's just, there's nothing like it at all. I mean, you get past high school and you go into college, and you've got a pretty tight group, but your tight group is pretty much your roommates on the team. So that's kind of going to be your closest, friends. And obviously a bunch of my friends from college roommate days we're still really close, but man, I would always go back to high school and play it again. That was just, there's no pressure on you. There's no, oh, you've got to do this. You got to be this person. You've got to figure out what you're doing in your careers. You got to start thinking longevity. High school is just, you have, aside from, I know not everybody was blessed to, be raised in an incredible family like I was, with an awesome support system, but it was just, high school was just, it was the most fun. It really was. I think about it all the time. If I could go back to high school, man, I would do it all over again in a heartbeat. And I wouldn't change anything either. I think, one of the big questions I get asked too from some of my Knoxville buddies is, because I transferred into West. I wasn't zoned for West. I shouldn't have gone there. But my one of my former cousin-in-law was one of the coaches, and he was like, "Hey, just come tour it. Let's just talk." And I don't even think that was allowed, but I literally sat down in Coach Cummings' office, and we had a little powwow and all that stuff. But I think transferring into West was the best decision, my family could have made for me. Putting me just in a situation to be successful, and it ended up working out. So I owe a lot of that to my family and my parents, sacrificing, driving me 35 minutes to school every morning through all the traffic on the interstate getting there until I could drive. But yeah, man, it was high school, man. It was just, there's nothing like it. There's nothing like it.
There isn't.
No, it's nothing like it. Because I just remember, I can't remember the game. I had missed some of this game, and I just remember coming up to you with the game and just going, "Oh yeah, that's number 5. That's number 5."
Oh man, that's awesome.
I think
That's
it was
awesome.
on the way to state. This was the year that I think it was after Thanksgiving.
Okay.
What game
Yeah.
was that?
Well, if it
If
was
it would
the
have been after
Cleveland game,
Thanksgiving, yeah.
it was either Cleveland or Ray County. If it was a home game, it was that Cleveland bad game that we whipped
Mm-hmm.
them or whatever. And the Ray
Yeah,
County,
it was
it was there.
the
So yeah.
Cleveland game. I think it was when you guys were on the state. I think because it was after Thanksgiving.
And it was home
Mm-hmm.
game, and it was a
It
home
was
game,
a
wasn't
home
it?
game.
Yep.
So that's the
Yes, it
Cleveland
was a
game.
home
That was
game.
the ass whipping
Cleveland.
against Cleveland.
It was
so,
Cleveland.
yeah.
I could never remember. I'm like, did I drive? I was like, I didn't drive to Ray County. I remember I had to.
I'm sorry
Man.
I drove to Ray County. I never want to go back again, to be honest.
No,
with you.
God,
So,
I hate
Jesus.
even going near that place.
Yeah, I didn't drive to Ray County.
And you want to know something? How messed up is that, Nate, that you guys had, like the fact is your team was so special that year. You only lost to Maryville, and they weren't even in your classification. The regions were weird back then. You had you were one of 2 5A teams, and everybody else was a 6A team in that region.
Yep.
And
Yep.
basically, because of that one loss, you guys had to go on the road to South Doyle and Ray as opposed to hosting, which you should have, being one of the best teams in 5A and so forth. But I did want to talk about that Maryville game because you had an electrifying kickoff return that gave you the lead against Maryville. And Maryville wasn't down to anybody at that time and so forth. But you guys were up 16-14 in the third quarter. Couple of plays went their way that it didn't go your ways, but you guys were leading. You lost 31-16, but how did you guys not let that loss affect you? Because you still had a tough schedule ahead of you guys, and sometimes if you lose to Maryville, you lose 2 weeks in a row because maybe you left something back there. And what's some advice that you could even give to this team after what happened on Friday night, losing to Maryville?
Yeah, no, that Maryville game, aside from losing state, was one of the toughest losses that I can remember. I remember I went up to my brother and I was crying. I was just so frustrated at that point because I think we were driving in the red zone about to score, and I got a handoff from Seth and I fumbled the ball, and that would have kept the game a lot closer, and I think we would have had a lot more momentum. And we lost that fumble. And I just remembered after that game, I was like, I don't want to feel that pain again. I don't want to feel that defeat. I don't want to feel that loss. That was at that point in time, it just felt unbearable. I was like, we're not going to let this happen again. And I just remember that feeling, and I didn't want to feel it again. So, from that point on, I mean, it was just no matter what we got to do, we're going to grind it out. We're going to have some tough games. We're going to have some tough battles on the field. But remember that hurt. And remember how bad you don't want to feel it, because I hate to lose. I mean, as a football player, that has to be one of the number one things that you hate the most has to be losing. Why else do you play the game? You don't play it just to be a part of it. You play it to win. So I think just a mix of those emotions. It was just, we weren't going to lose again. I was confident in that, and I'm pretty sure all my teammates felt the same way, obviously. But yeah, and then any advice I would give to them, I mean, just remember the feeling. Remember that suck and embrace it. That's what a bunch of people that are just struggling, I'm just like, embrace the suck. It's not always going to be easy. Go to practice the next day and obviously not the next day because I got the weekend, but go to practice on Monday or Sunday, whenever y'all go back and do your little powwow. Break it down, see what you did wrong, learn from it, fix it. It's so simple. But it is one of the hardest things in the world to do is to fix your mistakes. But you just got to remember that feeling. Just know that you don't want to feel that again.
Absolutely. Let me see here. I had one more question because I really wanted to talk about the 2014 team in regards to their being honored on Friday night. And I hope a lot of them show up. I know Coach Lane is now at Central. Mark Giles has been at Farragut for a while now, and they're off, so I believe he's going to be there. Can't speak for Coach Cummings because now he's at City, and they might have a game. But I guess, talk about that state championship game. You kind of alluded to it earlier. You were not going to let them lose. You put the team on your back, 225 yards, 2 touchdowns. You were going up against 2 UT commitments in Vincent Jackson, and the other guy's name escapes me, but he was the big defensive end that they had playing.
Line, yep.
Yeah, they were playing. He was playing offense that game, but still, you guys, 23-6 was the final score. There was no doubt. There was no Henry County. You guys, we were down 7 or 6-0, but you never looked back after that 6-0. And realistically, if you could just talk about that game and your classmates and how special that group was, honestly.
Yeah, no, obviously, got accolades from that game, but obviously I couldn't have done it by myself. I had such an incredible team around me to where I felt like I had no pressure on me. I knew what I wanted to go do, but I also knew that they had my back, and everybody had the same mindset. We were we were really close knit. And we all knew going into that game without a shadow of a doubt we were going to come out of that game as the state champions. Seth Marshall had an absolutely incredible game. Dude ran harder than anyone I know. Christian Romines was the other back that we had, who also, he was probably one of the most selfless players I ever played with because, honestly, he knew he probably wasn't going to get the ball as much, but his role was just as important as mine because if he wasn't doing his job, then my job was going to get ruined. We had an incredible offensive line, Ryan Perry, Ben Mixon, Keyshawn, I can't even think of everybody's name, but then defensively, Noah Hoxie, Desmond Thompson, Max Bacon, Alex Birch, Hayden Shimlock. I wish I remembered everyone's names because we had such an incredible group.
Sean Highfield was Green Maples who we played with.
Yeah.
So that was a connection there. So, yeah.
Yes.
Eric Middleton, too, at linebacker. So
yeah, see, I wish I remembered all the names, but I should, but no.
That's the nerd in me.
We had such an incredible team, and I had
it's
so
a
much
lot
talent.
of guys to name, man. It's so many dudes to name off that team,
and they were so deep. They beat everybody's ass at halftime, and look at the depth that they created. There were so many guys that got time, and even the backups were making plays in the second half. Honestly,
absolutely, because we had some injuries too coming out of the halftime at when we were playing Hillsboro, and it was just next guy step up. And they did. It was just, we were just clicking on all cylinders. Like I said, we knew we weren't going to lose. No one was going to let that happen.
Right.
No matter how much pain we were in, no matter how cold it was, we just went in and we had one goal in mind, and that was to win. That was a special group of guys, man. So many of them have molded me and shaped me into who I became, and I owe so much to that football team. But yeah, man, it was just such a special game, and it was a lot of fun to come out on top at the end. It's kind of like a Cinderella story. We lose by a point, and then we go and we took care of business.
I always said you guys were rocky. Maybe you lost the decision, but you came back the next year in the sequel. Would have been nice to get it against Henry County again, but, Hillsboro was a very good substitute, almost very similar team. So, yeah. And you guys are legendary. And look at what the program is now. Like, how does that make you feel? That, we have a podcast now, but look at this. We're coming off a back-to-back. They, it's a special group and the coaching staff. It's different than what it was 10 years ago, but it took a minute to get back to that, a couple coaching staff changes, and, it took some time and effort, but it's become a program. But you guys really were the ones that started it. And how special is that to know where it's come from you guys to now little brothers down the line? So
yeah, no, it's incredible. I love watching, the teams come up from, obviously they were probably watching some of our games, maybe not now because it's been 10 years, which is outrageous. But some of those teams coming up, and they were watching us, on the sidelines on YouTube. But yeah, no, it was just that's such a cool feeling, knowing that we kind of not set the bar, but we showed them what was possible, and I feel like they've run with it at this point. They got back-to-back. We never got a back-to-back, but, just knowing we had a little bit to do with that just to show them, hey, this is what you can become. that's a pretty special feeling. I think, that almost gives me goosebumps when I just think about it. It's just like, wow, those were guys that looked up to us, and look what it's turned into. Because you never know. I don't know. You never know who's watching you. You never know, what kind of influence you might have on a kid on the sideline. If you just say hey to him, or you go sign his helmet, or do something like that, or give him a pair of gloves, you don't know what that's going to do for him in his future. And I think about that, and it's just it's awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
Shane,
man.
you got another
Like,
question? Or two pair? Yeah, go ahead, guys.
no, what I was gonna say is the way those kids look up to you guys, because you guys set like a standard of what it takes to be a rebel and what it takes to, band with brothers to get to an impossible journey that most people don't think can happen in high school. And it's gotten to the point now that we're covering these kids as analysts on a podcast show because of what you guys were able to do. And it's wild because we made music songs about you guys for a DVD. Like, we were trying to do a 30 for 30 on the story.
I remember.
And all I need is a MacBook Pro, and it can still come together. I have all the footage. I have everything. I need a MacBook Pro. That's the problem. So
I was talking to my wife about that.
Fund the Stallions MacBook Pro.
Yeah, we got to go fund me for a MacBook Pro for James. So that's it. So
we had a West High 30 for 30, and you kind of think about it. You guys have led us to that documentary that's still going to be done, because now we've got footage about the 10-year anniversary to go with it, now we do. And just the fact of the success of everybody on that team, you guys have set a standard and a level of excellence. And it's where these kids now, they realize they have something that they have to uphold. It's like, man, Nathan Cottrell saw you fumble like that. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's the type of level, and it's beautiful to see and hear kids talk about you guys.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's awesome. And I appreciate you for, even just saying things like that. It's cool. But yeah, it's just, I always go back. You never know who's watching. So and that's just a thing. I don't know. Now I really learned it more in college, but it's something I think is even applicable. But every time you enter a room, leave the room better than you found it. Whether it's, if you're doing laundry, if you're folding, if you're making your bed in the morning, just whatever. I mean, leave the room better than you found it. And we, I feel like we left West in a spot better than when we got there. And we just showed not only West High School, we showed that community around West, because that's honestly, it's kind of a weird school to get talent into, because you've got Bearden and Farragut and all those schools real close to each other. And it's just, you never know who's going to end up where. And especially now there's like kids just transferring out of nowhere for high school football now. But I think West has set that standard now where it's, we attract talent, and we showed them, not necessarily put West on the map, but we were like, hey, we can play this football game too.
Yep.
No, you've done it. You've done it. You all are legends, and it's like I tried to tell the guys that were part of the 22 and 23 that went back to back and so forth. I said, you guys are immortal. Are you kidding me? That banner's not going anywhere. You walk in there. That is something you can be proud of, honestly, and nobody can take that away from you. Nobody can. And realistically, the group this year, we're going to have to give them some tough love, because realistically, I know how good they can be. I just don't think the light bulb has clicked on it. And they need to really put that effort in, because we're game 5 now, and now it's region play. And realistically, the team, the different units on offense that we praised in the spring game, you guys have regressed. I don't give a damn about the competition you're playing. I mean, I'm looking at offensive linemen not getting to their blocks on time. I'm seeing offensive linemen not really driving their helmet through somebody's chest and saying, hey, I'm such and such. You're going to be enjoying this all game long. Do something about it. I mean, that is just what is so frustrating to me because you guys need to take it to each team, no matter who they are, honestly. And you have a standard. And here's the thing: haters are going to hate. Would you like to know what the News Sentinel by Toyloy Brown his headline for Saturday morning was Maryville destroys 5A champs. Destroys was the word used. If that doesn't light a fire under your ass, I don't know what will. I mean, yeah, they beat you. So what? Okay. But are you going to allow that again? I like what you said, Nate. You didn't like that feeling, so go out there and, show what's up. Honestly, I don't think it's hard.
Do something about it.
Do something about it. I mean, and they obviously don't like you still. That you used to get shots all the time from Prep Extra all the time. I mean, you remember that one time that he said you guys were only going to beat William Blunt like 21-17. You ended up beating them 70-14 was the final score. I still remember Max Bacon ripping the ball out of the running back for William Blunt's hand that was going across the goal line. He takes it 99 yards the other way for a touchdown. I mean, 63 points in one half is still the record by West in one half. Dang. You guys did that. So, yeah.
That's crazy. That brought back a memory I didn't even know I had.
Oh, yeah. But it's the same. It's the same cats, same publications, and the coach T message boards are such gold, honestly. I mean, they love to hate on West every time, and it's like no matter what we do, it's never enough. Oh, they can't do it this year, and it's like you are going to have that against you. You're not the darling. You're not. So why don't you just be like that group of guys that loves to spoil the party and embrace the hate. Honestly, embrace it. So because they love taking shots. I heard it all Friday night into Saturday. I did.
So, oh man, and the thing is, they
Channel
just
6 reporter, all of them. So.
They went through. They played a team that just exposed a lot of the tendencies that we talked about they had trouble with. And it got to the point where you didn't see that sense of urgency in the third quarter. You didn't. They didn't make enough plays. They didn't convert on third down, and it just was a.
It was a humbling experience.
It was very humbling because it's at home. Like, you know what I'm saying? If this was on the road, I can understand like the environment, but players got to make plays. And
the crowd was electric. I mean, the crowd, there was a Wild West theme or whatever, all the student section. I mean, Nate, you remember, like, you had some students, you had some friends that came, but I'm going to tell you this. When you show up Friday night, that student section is filled where the old band used to sit. The band now sits in the end zone. I mean, it's standing room only. And that atmosphere was incredible Friday night. But damn, the minute Maryville scored, the air got let out of the building. It was the people on the other side that were chanting and doing their thing and so forth. I mean, we didn't recognize what we were. And I hope that the guys have had a good week of practice. I know it's Tuesday. They've got tomorrow, walk through Thursday. And I don't care who the opponent is because Kevin Lane would love nothing more than to take his Central Bobcats and erase these scores. 53-0 last year, 44-3 the year before that, 63-26 and 49-14 in 2021. So they would love nothing more than to, have a program-changing win and be 1-0 in region. So what are you going to do about it? That's my question. Are you going to defend this house? Are you going to actually perform in front of the OGs that are being honored on a 2014 10-year anniversary? That's what I've got right there, honestly. So, for sure. So,
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Most definitely.
Well, hey, let me ask you this, Nate. Before you go, and I really thank you for your time and so forth like that. You want to talk a little college football with us because you did play at Georgia Tech and so forth, and
the Rambling Wreck, Nathan Cottrell.
Yeah, I mean, I just wanted your thoughts on what you think about college football now and so forth. It's kind of weird because one thing I was going to bring up to the guys with this discussion, I wanted to start it a little bit earlier to get your thoughts on it, is I just cannot remember a time where now style points really count because teams are getting bumped down in the AP poll for bye weeks, and I didn't think that you'd get credit for, or get penalized for playing bye instead of having a game against an opponent. But Tennessee and Miami beat the hell out of two MAC opponents, and each moved up and so forth. And I just wanted your thoughts on that of what the pollsters are looking at nowadays with this playoff and everything. So,
it's interesting. I don't think anybody really knows what to expect this year. It's a completely different dynamic. I love the 12-team playoff. I think that's awesome. I'm a big fan. It's going to be interesting to see how it shakes out. I mean, with that many games, you don't know what can happen. And then as far as the AP poll ratings and all that go, I have no idea what they look for. No idea. I mean, it's sometimes baffling to me, but obviously they're just trying to bring in the most money that they can. So anything that gets people watching, they're going to do it. But I mean, college football as a whole, I'll tell you what I hate, and that's NIL, transfer portal, all that stuff. I think it's outrageous, and I think there's got to be some kind of, I don't even know, there has to be a stop. There's got to be a ceiling. You can't transfer just 15 times and still playing when you're 35. Like, there's a 32-year-old kicker. What do you like? That's outrageous. And then all the NIL deals, everybody's just looking for money. If you looked at me when I was 18 years old and said, hey, if you come here, we'll give you $60,000. Show me where to sign. I'll be there tomorrow. Like, and they're making millions. I mean, that's the low end. But that's just that as a whole has completely changed the dynamic of college football. Yeah. It's really brought it into they've made the offseason for college free agency.
Yep.
It's just like the NFL. It's just a big free agency system, and whoever has the most talent and the most money, they're going to get the best players. I mean, it's
semi-pro.
It
is. It really is. And I mean, good for them. I'm not saying they shouldn't get paid because schools make a lot of money off of them, but there has to be some sort of regulation. I don't think they have all of that in place yet.
Let me ask you on this, Nate. Would you you know what I'm saying? If there was a form of regulation for that, do you think the former college players need to be head of that to be like, hey, we got to have some kind of level of just chilling out on this to where we get to where we need to be? Because is it kind of ruining the game a little bit?
Yeah, I think it is. And I think that would be, how, and I don't think they do as much. They claim they do a lot, but in the NFL, they have the NFLPA, which is all former players, and that is the player's voice, even though, you're talking to billionaires, so you can only do so much. But I think if college had something like that, that'd be kind of cool if it was former players to maybe help regulate some things. But then again, I don't know. I don't know how you do it.
Then it has become unionized at that point.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to tell you this.
It almost would be a union.
Two pair, not to poke fun or whatever, but look no further than Florida State right now. Okay. Because, no. Here I have a point. I'm not taking a shot. No, I'm not. Listen, here's the truth of it.
That's a good point. I know
there's no culture. Yeah. There's no culture. If you're renting players for 1 year, where's the pride? I mean, you think about Bobby Bowden's teams, man. He grew those groups, or whatever. And Nate, you talk about what you guys went through for 4 years. I mean, if you've got guys transferring from another state, they don't know what the West culture is all about or anything. That. So,
and it's going back to you speaking about it building a culture. That's already hard enough to do at the college level. You're all around people. I mean, once you get to college and you get on college campus, you are around all different walks of life. And to build a culture on your team with people that just come from vast different backgrounds, it's already hard enough. And you can't do it in 1 year. You can't do it in one season. You can't do it in, however many get 12 games, 13 games, 14 games, however many games are playing now. You can't do that in 1 year. So now it's just everybody's pulling all the talent from all these other schools. You're never going to have that culture again. You're never going to have, as my father said, it ruins it for the fan base. How do you even cheer for him if you've only seen him for half a season and then he's gone? I mean, it's just there's no – you lose a lot of that you use a lot of the loyalty from the fans, I think, or you can because it's like, oh, well, I really like that player, and now he's with
Oregon.
I'm not gonna say Alabama. If he's with Oregon, yeah. So I'm gonna go cheer for Oregon now. Like it's just ruined it. It takes the culture out of it. There's none there to have, and it's already a hard thing to build. And I think that it gets even exponentially harder in the NFL, which is what they're going to learn in the college level because everyone's doing it for money at that point. They're not doing it because they want to be there. It takes all of that out of it.
Takes away the love of the game.
Yeah, it absolutely does.
It does.
Yeah, and it's hard to keep up with all these people. It's like this guy's not here anymore, and it's like, and here's the thing: maybe you were counting on a guy to be like, man, in a year or so, man, he's going to get him in the weight system and get him in the strength and conditioning program. He's going to be a player for you next year. Oh, that's right. He's now over at Auburn or whatever like that. See ya. Thanks. I mean, and realistically, that's just what sucks. And then if you don't play somebody that has, believes their own hype or 4 or 5 star or something right out of high school, I hate to say it. It's like, maybe they would have been something for you, but they're going to go to where the playing time is. So I wouldn't even want to be a coach right now in college football. And I can kind of understand why Nick Saban had enough of it, honestly. When he can't control it, then you know that it's not something good right now, honestly.
Yeah, Dabo's next. Will be done.
Oh, yeah. I was about to say, because Dabo's so reluctant against all of it, and I mean, be who you are. But that's what I'm saying. At the end of the day, your program suffers from it. So, I mean, it comes back to where I was saying you have to adapt to your environment. It sucks. That's the way it's going.
It's true.
Everybody's greedy and they want a piece. And I get it. Like I said, if I was going back into college, I would probably want to go where they were going to pay me too. But that's just I really think it just takes a lot of the fun out of it, personally.
Yeah.
It does. And I think about your time at Georgia Tech, Paul left and then they brought in the other guy and now they've got this new coach and it seems like the culture's changed at Georgia Tech just because of this guy. And I mean, they're looking pretty good and so forth. Like what would be, what are your thoughts like just about, where the program is now? You talk about where you left it and you were in the middle of a transition that sucked and so forth because you went there because the system fit you completely. Right. And then it's a whole other system. I mean, just talk about that in general. So,
I mean, obviously getting thrown into a new offensive system, scheme, all new coaches and all that, I was not ready for it. I mean, I remember I sat on the field. I talked to my mom on the phone for an hour, and she had to talk me out of quitting because I was just ready. I was like, I don't like it anymore. I'm just ready to hang it up. Thank God I didn't. She was the reason I was able to keep playing, honestly. Shout out to my mom.
Yep. Shout out to Mama Cottrell.
Shout out to Mama Cottrell. Love her.
I mean, it just.
Look what you did, Mama Cottrell. Look what you did, Mama Cottrell.
Hey, listen. Dad put this. He gets it from his mama. He said that earlier in the broadcast. So absolutely. So
shout out to Mr. Cottrell too, man.
But speaking about where they're at now, Coach Brent Key, he was on Collins' coaching staff whenever he brought all the new people in, and from the beginning, he was one of the coaches I respected the most. He shot completely straight. He wasn't blowing smoke. He was so smart. I mean, he coached under Saban. He was Alabama's offensive line coach. So he came from greatness. And he learned from the best college football coach we've ever seen. So it's just, I think where he is taking the program now, it is sky's the limit. Honestly, I love him. I think he is doing great things. He's getting the fans involved again because it's tough. We're in the middle of Atlanta. I mean, there's no community here. People come here for work and leave. So it's just we've got and I know it's the same with any big city, but I think we're headed in a great direction. We've got a tough game against Louisville this weekend. I'm excited for that. Last time we played them, we beat the brakes off of them.
That's true. That is
so
true.
Yeah.
we'll see.
True.
Well,
We'll
and
see.
I'll tell you this: the talent-rich state of Georgia. I mean, the city. I mean, yeah, you've got the city, but the city might attract recruits. You know, there's a lot to do there in
And
Atlanta.
exactly
That might help. I mean,
being able to
yeah.
sell the city is a big thing, and that's something Coach Johnson didn't really do.
Mhm.
Not harping on him. Coach Johnson's the reason I ever got to play college football. I love that man. But I think he missed an opportunity with, like you said, selling the city. I mean, it was part of what brought me there, and he didn't even say anything about it. But I was like, hey, this is kind of a cool little mix-up. So, you know, that's definitely a selling point, and it can be. We just have to make it one.
Yeah.
And then you know what I'm saying, you being from Knoxville and that short trip from Knoxville to Atlanta is like, you know, you were, you know what I'm saying, like a mainstay. Like you could, you know what I'm saying, travel. Like that's one thing I always wondered why, like, to get a guy like you from Knoxville and to have that metro Atlanta area, it was a lot of guys from so many different places when you were in college.
Yeah, and that's the same. That's the same. It always is. I mean,
Always is,
yeah, and you know, obviously, growing up a Tennessee fan, I wanted nothing more than to go play at Tennessee, but that wasn't in the cards. I mean,
right.
West is a 5-minute drive, and we never got anything from them. Or more than likely, if they would have offered, I promise that's where I would have gone. Thank God they didn't. Honestly.
No, they like Jock Bruce,
and
better
they
for
went through
whatever
like
reason. I don't know
5,000
why.
different coaching staffs.
Yeah. No,
Dude,
I
so many different.
I'm glad I wasn't involved in any of that situation.
Because,
Honestly,
like, look at your football life and your journey. Just you know, just looking at it and watching it, it's really a made for TV movie, man. Like it's literally a movie.
Listen, I still can't believe that George Bullock never got a chance to kick legitimately at UT because of Butch Jones wanting Parlotti. I mean, are you kidding me? I can't
well,
tell
and
you.
he like snapped his leg in half
Yeah.
at practice, and then they just one of my coaches in the NFL. I'll remember this forever, and it's such an easy saying, but the best ability is availability, and if you're not available, they're gonna find somebody to replace you. Because it's crazy. There's a lot of talent in the world. So
oh yes,
got to stay healthy.
Yeah, for sure. Nate, I know it's getting late, man. Thank you so much for the time, brother. Honestly, I mean, and it's going to be so exciting to see you this Friday night and the group. I hope a bunch of the guys come out and you know, hey, listen, you can also tell them, hey, these guys don't bite. If you ever want to come on the show, because we'd love to hear some stories from Max Bacon and Alex Birch and all them guys. Honestly, I'm telling you. So yeah, for sure.
No, absolutely. The pleasure is all mine. I appreciate y'all for thinking of me, and I'm excited for Friday. It'll be good to get back home. But again, thanks for the opportunity. I always love talking football and appreciate you guys for everything you're doing for West. It's incredible, and I know the kids eat it up, and it means the world to them. So I can't even put into words what you all mean to the program and just how much we all appreciate you. And thank you to everybody that's watching, all the families and all that good stuff, man. It's been a good time, and anytime I'd love to do it again. So just hit my line. You got my number, and I'm a phone call away. Just let me know.
You're always welcome on the show. And before we leave, you got to throw it up for us. I know you guys used to do the one and so forth, but now we throw up that W.
I like it.
Yeah, baby, you got to throw that W up.
Yeah,
I
like
That's
it.
what it's all about. So yeah,
yes, sir,
for sure. Well, listen, love to the missus. Safe travels. We'll see you Friday, and hopefully the boys won't let you guys down and deliver a big W and a night of big celebration. So
no doubt. Thanks again, y'all. I appreciate it. We'll see y'all Friday.
Take care, Nate. Thank you.
man. Thank you, Nate. Thank you.
Bye.
God bless you, man.
Dude, how awesome was that? I mean, we've had two great guests in a row. Coach Lamar Brown last week. This week, Nate Cottrell, just talking about his journey and you know, the fact that we have a pro that actually scored a touchdown in a preseason game. You know, and I'll tell you this, Ryan Scott, man, Ryan Scott yesterday or Saturday in that game, everybody got to play in that game for Tennessee and Kent State. Ryan Scott recorded another tackle in backup duty. So shout out to Ryan Scott and his mama, Joanna Scott. is her birthday today. So happy birthday to Mrs.
Happy
Joanna
birthday.
Scott and so forth. Ryan Scott's mama, who was one of the best team moms for the West Rebels the last few years with both her sons playing there. So yeah, shout out to Joanna.
Happy birthday, Mama Scott.
Absolutely.
Happy birthday.
So, yeah, for sure. So, but thanks
Shout out
again
to
to Nate
Mama
for
Scott.
coming on. So, but guys, you know, that portion of the show's done. I think we've got some serious business that we need to attend to these last 30 minutes or so that we've got on this show. I want your thoughts on this, man. This is unacceptable to me, but it happened, and you know we gotta talk
happened.
about it and so forth. You know, because remember, I was accused that I wasn't going to have a show after we lost to Bearden. You know, I had that legitimate family excuse, but I'm here tonight, so let's talk about it. Let's talk about what happened Friday night. So I ain't afraid. I mean, my team lost. Simple as that. So yeah.
Couldn't get them off the field on third down. Couldn't get them off the field on fourth down.
Yeah, that was killer on that, especially on that third touchdown drive. They converted 2 4th downs. Great point. Great point.
The amount of time that they had the ball, the amount of time that they were able to chew up clock, the way they imposed their will on plays. It is hard to find a lot of highlights when you had low light. Like this one was bad on the way of the turnovers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I think you can't have turnovers like this. Like the turnovers and not being able to stop third down, fourth down, not being able to have possessions to score. We didn't have enough possessions to score.
yeah. Well, and the other thing too that really was disappointing is that the fight that was shown in the third quarter when you block a punt. Parker Dubon throws a nice pass at the back of the end zone to Detroit Patterson for a touchdown. It's 21-7. You stop them again, and like you said, you have a drive going, and you turn the ball over. They get the ball back, make it 28-7, and that was it. I mean, at least if you make it 21-14, it makes them start to think, you know. But we cannot. Yeah. We're not a team that can keep getting in these holes of the 13-0 down to Bearden. 21-0 down to Maryville. You can't do this, guys.
You can't.
Out your way through a game. You've got to be tied in on your skill set and what you're doing and do your job, doing your assignment, blocking, tackling, running the right route, hitting the right hole. It's a whole plethora of things that need to be done.
Mm-hmm.
But so, like Nate said, make it hurt and don't let it happen again.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, just a couple of stats for you guys. Messiah Wren did have 100 yards on the ground and a touchdown run, if I'm not mistaken. That finished out the scoring.
I mean, they were putting drives together, but they weren't finishing them. They weren't executing.
Correct. Yeah. And the fight wasn't there in the first half. I don't know what was said at halftime. I imagine that it was a coming to Jesus moment, and it was what was needed to hear. But that fight should have been there without that even having to be said. That's just my opinion. I mean, simple.
Man, like I said last week, is that Maryville's on a revenge tour.
They are.
And they are giving everyone a dose of, hey, we're still Maryville. And yes, we're back-to-back state champs, but you still have to respect the team that's lying across from you. You don't ever want to play down to competition. It's like, or things like, we beat them last time, we'll do it again. Like any given Friday night, really. But you know, I tell my boys all the time, it's like, you know, snap and clear, get back out there, go do your job. And it kind of seems like they just kind of start getting down on themselves a lot. So you got to, as a football player, you got to have a short-term memory.
You know, it's funny. Lamar said something last week that I'm going to hold out hope for because I'm an optimist. I'm not a pessimist. He said that the butt whooping they took at Maryville 3 years ago, 35-7, and that was a very good team, by the way. Got to the state semifinals before they ran into Walter Nolan and Powell. But my point is that game taught them something about themselves and what ultimately elevated them to not only finish out that season, but also the 22 team that went undefeated, last year's group that went 14-1. But here's the thing. what does this loss do for this program? Like in terms of, okay, you're 2-2, you're at a crossroads now. You've lost 2 games more than you've lost the last 2 years. Are you going to lose another one? Or is this where you say enough and that you're famished and that you want to go on ahead and make it work and come out and set the tone for that you still own this region, you still own this classification? I mean, Two-Pair, your thoughts, brother, on that. So, yeah.
I mean, I think they got a lot to play for still. You know what I'm saying? They still got a lot to play for. But you gotta defense. It's gotta happen. Like defense has just gotta happen. You got to be able to get off the field.
Yeah.
Like,
and get pressure on the
what.
quarterback. I mean, get pressure on the quarterback.
Get pressure on the quarterback. Get off the field.
Yeah.
Offense, you can't have the turnovers. You can't
do the 3 and out. Can't do penalties. I mean, you're getting penalties right off the bat with false starts, getting you 5 yards behind the ball. You can't do 1st and 15. You can't. I mean, come on.
You're not a team that can do 1st and 15 because we don't have a lot of explosive plays. We are a ball control, grit and grind, make methodical plays, slow the possession, chew the clock, let the field position play in our favor. That's West football.
Correct.
We didn't have that type of identity Friday. We didn't. We got away from what we do great, and that's maintaining the front, like dominating in the trenches. We didn't dominate in the trenches. We got dominated in the trenches.
They did, yeah. And
like
it's the thing. You got to use that. They
imposed their will.
Yes.
They imposed their will on us, man.
Yes. And they need, and how that was done to them, they need to channel that and use that going forward, because that's the only way, if you even want to sniff Chattanooga, that's what you're going to have to take, honestly, at this point. So, yeah. So we're done with that. Now we've got this. We're going to honor the 2014 state champs. Central, they are a different team this year. Kevin Lane, in his short time there, is definitely bringing a culture back to the team. And, that's his school. And I've been saying for years, I'm waiting for the school that takes the chance on Kevin Lane and gives him an opportunity. Well, here's his opportunity. And he's coming back to the place where he was defensive coordinator for many years, very successful defensive coordinator at West before he moved on to other teams. But he would love nothing more than to come in there and ruin this celebration. And of course, start region play, because now it's these region games that really matter. Sure, you've got a couple of out-of-conference games with Anderson County and Alcoa that are going to be tests to see if you've gotten better. But Central, Heritage, Halls, and Powell are all looking to knock you off because they want that number 1 seed. So, and that's what's going to be very important, that home field advantage. So, Shane, your thoughts on this Central and West matchup this Friday night from Bill Wilson Field in Marble City?
Central's going to come in with something to prove. They've been doing good. West has to regroup real quick, short-term memory. Hopefully they've been back at it, correcting all their mistakes, been in the film room, looking at where you screwed up last week and fix it. Because I guarantee Coach Lane is watching everything they did wrong, and that's what you learn from. We all learn from what you do wrong. And he's looking for every place he can exploit the offense and the defense. I think West bounces back this week, but they're going to come ready to play and not look over anyone, really. They did. Friday night needs to hurt in the pit of their soul.
And it happens at home. And Two-Pair, like you said, the turnovers have to be cut off. I mean, you're averaging 2 turnovers a game now. So
you should be getting penalties this far into the season at your own home. Like, come on, like you're saying that you don't know how. Like, our crowd should know when to cheer and when not to, when to tone it down a little bit. Like, you should be making those mistakes 4 or 5 weeks into the season. That is simple stuff. That's you paying attention. Like you know the snap count. You know when the ball's going to snap. Why you false started? Like what's going on there? And ball security. One more time, ball security.
I've heard it. Effort and execution. That was the story of the game. They did it. We didn't.
Mm-hmm.
Are you going to do that in game 5? Game 5. I mean, I can't believe we're already halfway through this season. That's what eats at my soul. It goes by so damn fast. We wait for it all damn year long, and now we're already at game 5. It's crazy.
Oh, yeah. I got 1 week left of football.
Yeah. So look at you. Look at all the hard work and all the hours. Yep.
All right, my son, he's got game Saturday. 1 more week after that, his season's done.
Yep.
And that's 7 games.
Yep.
I've been coaching for 5 weeks now for a season.
Mm-hmm.
And look at all the work you had to do during the summer to get to that. You know what I mean?
I've got my other screen pulled up right now. I've got film playing this game prep.
Yep, for sure. All right, so let's do this, Shane. Do you got the games for this? You know what? We'll save it for the end. We'll save predictions for the end. Let's talk a little. Do you all want to talk a little college football? You want to talk a little NFL? What do you want to talk about? So
college football.
Well, if we talk college football, after watching Oklahoma play Tulane, I feel good about where Tennessee is, but I feel you gotta stop Oklahoma's edge rusher, Thomas. Like you gotta stop him. Like he was the main reason that they beat a Tulane team. I think he had a pass deflection, a sack, and a fumble recovery, all in that fourth quarter. That's big time right there. So I think with the offensive line, you got Campbell up there, you got Hurd up there, you got Cooper Mays. Cooper Mays is playing phenomenal. You got Spraggins, like that security enforcement for Nico. They should have a field day the way they run the ball. Like, and what about Bishop? Like,
I know.
How cool is that story? How cool is that story?
Can we talk real quick about Kent State, by the way? And I don't mean this with any disrespect. That was one of the worst football teams I have ever seen in my life.
They're bad.
And here's the other thing. Shane, back me up on this too, pair. I would willing to bet Chattanooga could kick their ass. I think Chattanooga gave us a tougher game than they did. Am I wrong by saying that? Chattanooga gave us a better game than that.
I said last week that Maryville could take it to Kent State.
Yeah, no, Kent State is horrible. I mean, and it's like I understand why the game was played, but we're not talking this was Carson Newman or a Division II team. This was a Division I AA school that performs and they have games and but they were horrible. But credit to UT for whipping that ass, man. I mean, two-pair. They set records in that game. 44 points in one quarter. I mean, like they lead college football right now by the margin of victory. And I mean, now it's going to get a little tougher. But this Oklahoma UT game, Josh Heupel's homecoming, I'm excited, man. I mean, this is a really good slate of games this week, in my opinion, and game day being there. But can I tell you this? I think Tennessee wins by 2 touchdowns. I am that all in with Tennessee right now. I think they win by 2 touchdowns and really make a statement. And I'll tell you this, Georgia can be beat. They should have lost to Kentucky. And
I can't believe that Kentucky. Oh my God.
And real quick, here's this. My loser of the week is Mark Stoops. You have them by the balls at home on the 50-yard line, and 4th and 8, you punt it with the thought that you might get the ball back. With what, 5 seconds? And that's exactly what happened. You go with everything.
You do a Josh Dobbs, Juwan James Hail Mary to the end zone. See what
Why not? Why not? If you don't have a play to the tight end or a post pattern to pick up the damn 8 yards. I mean, unbelievable.
They could not put up points. They couldn't put up points. They couldn't put up points. Yeah. And Georgia's offense had Georgia fans worried, like, if you lose that game with the way that Kentucky lost to South Carolina.
Yeah, they got destroyed. They got blown out.
Blown out. And South Carolina, hated for them because they had a lot of juice going into that game against LSU to be where they are. But man, it gets worse because they're already talking about firing Billy Napier.
Oh yeah.
Like it's in the works.
I mean, A&M's backup quarterback. It wasn't even the Wigman. It was the backup that ran all over them in the swamp. Man, honestly, there was no fight there.
I'm glad to see that happen to Florida because how many times has Florida's backup quarterback come into Neyland or we go up against them? They have a fucking career day. No.
And you want to know something, Shane? It's funny that you mentioned that too. And doesn't that piss us off even more that we didn't take care of business down there in the swamp last year? You know what I mean? Like it's like,
oh my god,
how in the world did that happen?
No, that's one of his big wins.
Yes, that extended
that's
him.
One of his big wins.
Yes,
that game.
Yes, yeah.
That game is one of his big wins.
Mm-hmm.
That one.
Yes.
Oh, and the dude is still there.
I thought he was going to be done. I had heard he was going to be done yesterday, but he's still there.
They've got an interim president, I think, right now, and that's what's kind of holding things up. But
plus, they're getting sued by somebody. There's the investigation because they didn't pay what's his name that money that they promised.
Oh yeah, that one freaking recruiter, whatever, he transferred out real quick.
Yeah, they're trying to use that two-pair as leverage because if they find him guilty that he tampered with recruiting and stuff like that, they don't have to pay him that $27 million buyout, from what I understand. So that's what it's all about, because then they won't have any money on the table to pay somebody good. Like, I mean, I look at some of these games. I mean, it's incredible, honestly. So, you know, I mean, I'm just glad Heupel's at Tennessee. I hope he stays at Tennessee. And you know,
I do too.
Because God knows Tennessee went through their.
They raised ticket prices again today or yesterday to help pay for the collective and other amenities. So the money's there.
The money's there, of course. It always is. When there's a will, there's a way. Trust me, anything can be done.
And when you're playing good, fans come and they'll spend the money. So.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Well, let me ask you this, guys. You know, we touched on it a little bit, but are you kind of surprised that they're dropping teams that are not having games on weeks and so forth? I mean, listen, I love it because my two teams moved up because of it. But man, what's going to happen when Tennessee's off? Are they going to drop us because Penn State just happened to beat the piss out of Purdue 38-0 or whatever like that? Like, and they're going to move Penn State back up? I mean, what's going on here?
I think once the actual playoff polls start coming out, you won't see as much because you got AP and the coaches poll, and they're never identical. So I think once the actual rankings start coming out, then you won't see much. Because I mean, all you do is got coaches and writers doing this right now, but when it comes down to actual hey, here's 1 through 12, you're not going to see as much movement.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't think so. I don't think you're going to see as much movement when it's going to be mostly the SEC. Now, I take a team like Ole Miss has a crazy schedule. Texas has a crazy schedule.
Yeah.
And
yours is hurt. Yours is hurt. I mean, no disrespect to Arch Manning, but how's he going to do in an SEC, you know, for the first time, you know? So, I mean.
Right. Yeah. Like, what's that environment going to look like for him? You know, what's that environment going to look like? And you look at Oklahoma's got a crazy stretch starting this Saturday.
Yeah.
They've got a crazy stretch.
It's like Texas paid the SEC some big money. It's like, hey, screw Oklahoma's schedule.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. Well, let me ask you guys this. Is it too early to temper expectations for Tennessee that, a lot of people were saying 10-2 at the beginning of the year and so forth. But here's the thing. I don't think Georgia's an automatic L anymore. I really don't.
I'm 11-1 with a toss up on Georgia.
Okay.
I'm still.
So we agree on that. We agree on that it's 11-1. I mean,
I think they could be 11-1. The floor is 10-2. The ceiling is 11-1.
No doubt. No doubt.
Like at the beginning of the year, I said the ceiling was 10. I don't know if you can stop. I don't know if they can be stopped on offense.
The
defense is just as ferocious. I like their
and the defense is nasty.
Yeah.
But I don't like seeing them in man coverage.
Something to watch.
I like if they're playing zone. I like them in zone because man coverage. I thought there were some times where they had trouble.
Yeah.
Just on certain things. But I really do think if they're playing a sort of hybrid man to man, if that's even the case, if you between man and coverage, our linebackers have been playing well. The defensive line is the best defensive line in the country.
I love it.
Like you can rotate almost 7-8 guys off that defense. Like Rodney Garner is a hell of a coach. Like Rodney Garner is the best defensive line coach in America.
Oh yeah, down. He's been there. Now they've got their dudes in there. It's
and
they're giving up one touchdown. Defense is only giving up field goals, and we've only given up one touchdown due to a pick.
That was the pick six. Yeah, I mean that's crazy. That's nuts. So, well, Shane, what were you going to say? You were going to say something. What were you?
Well, first, I just ran the numbers. Tennessee's averaging almost 64 points a game.
It's NCAA shit, man. That's what that is.
So,
yeah. Yep.
And of course, I mean, we scored over 50 every game, but the numbers say 63.6. Freaking, the defense is lights out right now. Like, Keenan Healy is like, I honestly think he's better than James Pierce right now. I think that there's so much because you know what he's going to do that you can't account for everybody on that defense. He's going to walk on grabbing interceptions and take them to the house. Of course, he's starting walk on, but shit. I mean, yeah. And then I was listening to something today. It's like last year we were really run focused, and Dylan Sampson was able to do what he could do. And then the year before was all about the passing game with Hooker and Hyatt out there. You've got the best of both worlds now with the run game and the passing game, the receivers you have, the quarterback you have, the running backs, the stable running backs you have. Like, how do you stop this offense? And then the defense, like I said, the defense playing lights out.
Yeah.
All teams would have still let those teams score.
Yep.
Even when you put in the subs.
Yep.
The offense didn't drive as much because you had backup after backup after backup after backup going. Guys I hadn't heard of coming in. And still getting drives, still getting points on. We made one drive where we didn't score.
Yep. Yeah. And he took the gas. I mean, he took out the first team, in the second quarter pretty much? I mean, if I'm not mistaken, the first team was done by the second quarter, not even halftime. Nico was
after they were up 50.
Yeah. I mean, geez. Well, here's the other thing, too. There's going to be a couple games I want to pay attention to. I'm really intrigued by that noon game of Clemson and NC State. NC State's quarterback got hurt. They got the kid Bailey, who led Chaminade Madonna to a state championship a couple years ago. He's their quarterback now. But I'd like to see what happens with Clemson and NC State because, honestly, I'd like NC State to win because that makes Tennessee's win even that much better. I mean, I look at stuff like that. Honestly,
if they beat Clemson,
yeah. I mean, it's like, wow, then how good is Tennessee? And maybe Georgia's win over Clemson ain't that good no more. So yeah.
Right, because Georgia beat Clemson 34-3.
Yeah, and it was in the Georgia Dome. It might as well have been a home game for him, honestly.
It might as well have been a home game. Yeah, that was a pseudo home.
But yet
game.
we go to Charlotte, which is like a home game for NC State with all those people.
Because that's not really like a neutral.
No.
When they say Charlotte, it's in North Carolina. Technically, it's closer to Raleigh to Charlotte than it is from Knoxville to no. Is it? It wouldn't it be?
Yeah, Raleigh to Charlotte's only is only like 2 hours or whatever. It's 4.5 hours or 5 hours,
4 hours
from here to Charlotte. So yeah,
4 or 5 to get to Charlotte because he going through Asheville.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
So I'm just saying, like, the most neutral game would be like when Tennessee played Virginia Tech. Bristol is literally the neutral spot between the two teams. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's neutral. So that's Bristol, neutral. Virginia Tech. That's neutral.
That was neutral. So, or like if like the Gators in Miami play in Orlando, that's neutral. You know what I mean? Type of a thing.
Yeah.
So midway.
Yeah. Yeah, if it's in Orlando, like what the Citrus Bowl,
Citrus Bowl. Yep, yeah, because that's where they played a couple years ago in that game. So yeah, but I don't know. I'm just intrigued. I like to listen. It's fun that we're in the conversation. How many times, Two-Pair, were we already done with an early season loss to a UCLA or a Cal or someone like that? You know, and it's like, you know, but now you have a little bit of wiggle room, but the hell with the wiggle room. Let's get that damn playoff spot and see what we can do. And if you're SEC champion, you get a bye, like at the beginning of it.
I'm curious how this works this year because the SEC is so loaded with top teams.
Yeah.
Who do you just for the championship? Like, is that why Tennessee is literally just?
I think the conference champ gets 4. I think the conference gets 4 right now.
Mm-hmm. Who would be your 4? Who would be your 4 right now? Two-Pair with you know, put it to pen to paper right now. Who's your 4?
If I give you 4, it's gonna be Georgia, Alabama, Tennessee, Missouri.
Wow, I like it.
I mean,
yeah.
Look at how they perform. Look at what can be done on both sides of the ball. Look at the dynamic of players. Missouri, Cook, Burden. You know what you get with those guys. Look at what you get with Alabama. Milroe. He's the guy there. And I'm gonna say this. Texas could be the 5.
Mm-hmm. Depends on how yours gets back.
I think you can switch Texas. I think you can switch Missouri for Texas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But if it's those 4, I think it could be those 4. But if they get 5, I think it's Texas, Alabama, Georgia, Tennessee, Missouri.
Yep. Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
I can see it being a Final Four. What do you think, Shane? I mean, here's the thing. I mean, if you're 4 conference champions, I'm just going to throw 4 names out there. Let's say Georgia wins the SEC. They got an automatic bid. You got Ohio State, Big 10. Let's say Miami wins the ACC and Kansas State wins the Big 12. There's no denying, in my opinion, no disrespect to Ohio State, Miami, and Kansas State, but there's a very good shot you would have 4 SEC teams in that Final Four going into that January 9th, January 10th
game.
Yeah,
you would. Yeah.
I would go Texas wins the SEC.
Okay.
Georgia, Tennessee, Ole Miss.
Wow. Yeah. Well, they'll definitely put 4 sale signs into
I think Alabama's going to fall off. I don't think the way they're playing does not impress me. The stadium's on now. It's not the same there. I mean, they're winning their games, but man, those games they're not blowing them out like they used to. Like the scores that were put up is what Alabama's already been doing.
Yeah.
Georgia's got to clean it up. I almost think that the national championship or the SEC championship would be Tennessee and Texas.
That'd be amazing. That would be
That
so
would be
much fun in
dope.
Atlanta. That would
Tennessee
be
and
dope.
Texas
That would
in
be dope.
Atlanta.
In Atlanta, I mean,
Ooh.
and then you got the Mannings involved with that. Like, I mean, there's so many storylines with
Okay,
that.
with it, then you go back to what my Final Four is. You got Cooper Manning's son, Arch at Texas.
Mm-hmm.
You got Eli with Ole Miss. You got Peyton with Tennessee. This return
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to be the playoffs. Will be the SEC Invitational. Somebody be pros the entire thing.
I really do. I don't think there's a team in the Big Ten.
Oh God, no.
I just don't. I don't think there's a team in the Big Ten that can compete with what's going on. Like, man, Miami is a very good football team.
They are. We're going to learn more about them next week or this week against South Florida. We're going to learn about them. So,
but
yeah.
this is the U.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's what it. You kind of get that feeling when you're watching it, and you're looking at that defense. That defense is nasty. Like you gotta love the speed you see at cornerback, the speed you see at linebacker. Like that Miami of the teams coming into the season that has impressed me the most. It's got to be them.
Yeah, well, and Mario's never been known as a game day coach. He's been a good recruiter, and the recruits are there, and it took him 3 years. So, like I said, they're going to show what they're all about against South Florida in Tampa this week. And then they've got a tough game on the road in Cal across the country. Like, it's just like that jet lag thing you hear about and so forth. So, but we're going to learn more about Miami.
But history shows.
Yes. Yeah.
History shows that when the Canes invade Berkeley, it is a Jesse Armstead celebration. Randall Thrill Hill. Do you remember the videotapes of it? Like, that was a show they put on
it was.
At Berkeley.
And there's some guys on that team that are kind of doing that stuff, the celebrations afterwards, and I'm like, I like it. It's good for football, man. You got to have a villain, and they're a great villain. They've always been a great villain, so that's the thing. So I mean, here's the other thing too. You talk about a couple of disappointing teams this year. In my opinion, I thought more would be coming from Colorado, to be honest with you, and so forth. And they did well against Colorado State, but they're going to have a tough season this year if they don't protect Shador. I'm telling you.
You know what? I like the way they played against Colorado State.
Oh, they did play well. They needed that.
They have to establish the run, Dion. It is imperative. It is imperative. Coach Prime.
Yep.
Man, love you. You are my favorite everything. They got to run the ball better.
They do.
They have to run the ball better. Now, I will say this. The offensive line, they took to heart what the nation was saying about them. And
effort, baby. Effort. Yep.
Effort. And it's about protecting the investment. Like, as far as this offensive line goes, that quarterback has got to look like the money that is on his wrist, the money is with his arm, and the money that's in the parking lot. That guy's got to stay upright because he's one of the more dynamic passers when he has time to throw. When he has time to throw, he looks like a pro. He looks like a pro.
He has his dad's genes. His dad was a hell of a player. I mean, a guy that can play anything. I mean,
and that dude his son is a pro. Like that's a pro.
Yeah, and I like Hunter too. I like Travis Hunter too. I mean, that guy.
Hunter's a baller.
Playing all game long. Come on. I mean, shoot. So.
Shane.
Yeah.
The man can play 5 years at cornerback. Stallion. The man can play 5 years at wide receiver. He can have 2 NFL careers.
He could. He could. And right now he's 4th on the Heisman Trophy list because of the plays he's making
the all-purpose yards.
Yeah, the all-purpose yards. I mean, realistically, he's doing more things than Charles Woodson did at Michigan. Not trying to hate. I'm just saying he's doing more things because there were more players on that Michigan team, and he's
right.
Amazing.
So,
amazing.
And I'm glad you said that. And that's no knock to Chuck. I think, you know what I'm saying,
Yeah, Chuck
Woodson,
was a hell of a player. Yeah.
because if we even say it, hell, Champ Bailey did the same thing
Mhm.
in Georgia.
Champ Bailey was amazing. So yeah.
Right? So and when we're talking about that, but when you see what Travis is playing the wide receiver and the cornerback spot for a team that's not deeply talented. It's a lot of transfers. You got like 40 some odd dudes.
Yeah. And that's
It's
hard.
no
That's not
continuity.
camaraderie. There's no culture.
There's
There's
no
no,
continuity. There's no culture.
exactly.
It's
tough.
it's not it's it takes time to build that.
Yes, it
But
does.
but when there's a person that can do it, that is that charismatic, it's got to be Coach Prime. Like he's in I mean, who else would you put in position like that at a university like that? I go with that guy. That guy know. I believe that guy that coached in Texas. I believe that guy that's training men. I believe that guy right there named Deion Sanders, Coach Prime. I do.
Yeah.
And I just think for them to have a successful season, the offensive line has to protect their investment. They don't protect their investment, they're not making any type of bowl game, because that guy just throwing to the other guy, them dudes are playing on Sunday next year.
That's right. This is true.
Like, enjoy this now.
Mhm.
Embrace this now. That offensive line, you have to play like championship football every game.
Mm-hmm. And
Because
their season's still in front of them too, because they could tell
way in front.
technically 12. I mean, so yeah, they could. They could.
Yeah,
So,
with everything that's going down, and you got to put your defense in favorable positions.
mhm.
It's kind of like what we harp on with West. West, you can't put your defense in unfavorable positions.
Exactly. Yep,
So
got to control the clock and go from there. The only thing I wanted to bring up about the NFL, by the way, this past week was
yeah, let's
just
talk
the
about it.
fact. I mean, my God! Like, first off, last night, what were the Eagles thinking? They had the Falcons beat, and then they do that stupidity. I mean, what happened there? Of all things, I mean, is what I'm trying to figure out.
I'm still trying to figure out that game. Like
Saints
the
are for
drop,
real.
the Saints are very for real. Either the Saints are for real or Dallas is Dallas.
Hey,
But
thank you, Alvin Kamara, for helping me win my fantasy football game. 4 touchdowns.
oh
Damn.
man,
So,
you got to start Kamara on games like that, man. You know what, Alvin Kamara, is he close to getting 10,000 all-purpose yards?
he has to be. He's been in the league going on 9 years. So,
I would say so, because if this man cracks like 15,000, if he gets 15,000 all-purpose yards, he's got to be a Hall of Famer.
absolutely. And he came from
Like,
Tennessee. He's a Tennessee guy, you know? I mean,
all-purpose though,
mhm.
he is like, and this is a guy that doesn't have like 1,000-yard rush season.
Mm-mm.
11,000.
He's just like,
Right.
he's got one.
11,000.
He's got 11,000 all-purpose yards.
11,002 all-purpose yards.
Wow.
7 years.
Dude,
Wow.
he gets 15. He's in.
Oh, without a doubt.
Book it. 15,000 all-purpose yards.
Yep.
He might get 20.
He might. I mean, if he just takes care of his body, that's it.
If
And
he
then the
takes
way this
care of his
offense is
body,
going for the Saints, I mean,
Alvin
this guy's
Kamara
amazing.
I don't think that's a hot take, but he's well close to getting 15.
Mm-hmm.
He's
Depending
got,
on how many.
got about 3 years left in him. Probably about 3.
Mm-hmm.
He's on year 7.
I think he got 3 or 4.
That's 17 games. I mean, 7 plus playoffs. I mean, you never know. Shoot.
You never know. You never know.
You just got to take care of his body. That's it. So, yeah.
I want to keep. I really want to keep Tua in our prayers, because
Yeah, that's not a good situation.
that's just not a good situation.
Yeah.
It's not a good situation. The way, just the way the hit was, and
Yeah, and then his arm kind of Grangold or something. I mean, oh my God,
Yeah,
dude.
It's just like
Yeah, no, you got to keep him in our prayers, and you know, there's a lot of big time players right now on injured reserve. Christian McCaffrey. I mean, you know,
Cooper
we haven't even.
Cup,
Cooper Cup is now.
Puka
I
Nakua,
yeah too yeah.
Christian
Um,
McCaffrey.
Brown might be put on there for the Eagles because he's kind of injured
Yeah,
right now. So there's some big
it's
time
a bunch of
playmakers.
guys.
Yeah, there are.
All the
So
playmakers are getting hurt. Like, you know what I'm saying?
yeah.
The situation out in LA is getting decimated.
Yeah, Pacheco's on injured reserve now for
Pacheco,
the
yeah,
Chiefs. Yep, Pacheco.
Pacheco.
I'll tell you this, dude. What about? Oh God, I had to talk about them real quick. The Ravens have been the most disappointing team so far. I know it's early, but to be 0-2, are you
Against
kidding me?
two AFC West teams.
Yes,
Two
yes.
AFC West. They're
Guy
0-2
teams that are
against
probably
AFC
going to be
West.
in your and one of them wasn't even good. Like, I mean, no
The
disrespect to
Raiders.
Vegas, the Raiders. Oh my
The
God.
Raiders.
Yes.
You let the Raiders go. It was 28-13.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, where's Derrick Henry at? Where's Lamar? Where's that defense?
It
Nowhere.
just
Fucking
nowhere.
nowhere.
It was pretty bad.
It was. And then the damn Bengals.
Dallas
I mean,
getting smacked was and so Tennessee loses to aging Aaron Rodgers.
Titans
Chicago
stink.
being Chicago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
New York being New York
Will Levis
against
experiment.
Washington. Yeah, I don't know what they're doing in Tennessee. And how about Malik Willis winning a ball game for Green Bay?
Look at that. Look at that.
Look
I'm
at
telling
God.
you.
Look
Hey,
at God, right? Look at God, right?
I've got one for you guys. With the first pick in the NFL draft, the Tennessee Titans select Cam Ward, University of Miami, because I'm tired of Will Levis. This is just horrible. I mean, oh my God, Cam
Will
Ward would put some ass
I
in
think
the
could have done the right thing and
Will
drafted Hendon Hooker, kept Tannehill for 1 year while Hooker recovered. It'd been probably a better turnout.
That probably would have been.
he should have got Hooker.
Yeah.
Should have got
Oh
Hooker.
my God, and Knoxville would have flocked over there to Nashville for them games, man.
Should have got
Honestly.
Hooker.
So, yep. Just
That would have
stupid.
been nice, but you know
It
what I'm
would
saying?
have
I
been.
think Hooker's learning under a guy who's
Yeah, Leonard.
I think Jared Goff is a damn good quarterback, but
Yes.
Baker Mayfield has been very impressive to me this year. Baker Mayfield has been impressive. Kyler Murray went crazy.
I didn't think he'd recover from that injury, and I'm glad for him. Honestly, he is
Kyler
really
Murray
turned
went
it around.
crazy. Like
Yes.
when you got a target like Marvin Harrison, this is what I'm saying to you quarterbacks that have these talents. Daniel Jones, keep getting the ball to Malik Neighbors. Malik Neighbors, you gotta catch that sideline pass. This is where you're the money now. You're the money now. Because the money went to Philadelphia and he had a drop pass. So you're the money now.
Yeah, he sure did, man. Wasn't that karma? If that wasn't karma, I don't know what was with him dropping that. So, and it was right there. Even if he doesn't get the touchdown, he falls down. The ball game's over. They take 2 knees and it's over. I mean,
It's
at that
over.
point, so
It's
yeah,
game over.
yeah,
Like Hurts put that on the money.
yeah, he did. And you can't blame
It
it on
wasn't
Hurts. You
a
can't blame it
bad
on his.
pass.
No, you can't. So, yeah. But I know it's getting late, guys.
I got to be for 5 hours.
All right, so let's do this real quick. Shane, give us the 5 best high school area games, including West and Central being our last pick, and we'll end the show with that. So it's been a great show, guys.
Great
So
show.
much to talk about. So much to talk about. Had a great guest in Nathan Cottrell. Can't wait to see the OGs. Hit like and
Yeah,
subscribe
man.
button,
We had
guys.
to give him his due, man.
Oh, dude.
He needed a full hour, man.
Absolutely,
we had to
man.
get
And he
that
said he'd
full
come
hour.
back, and hopefully he will for a panel discussion. So yeah, for sure.
Okay, cool.
Scrolling through the East. Let's go Gibbs at South Doyle.
Man, I like Gibbs, man. That quarterback, Gibbs is
Wyatt
one last
Axton.
week. I like Gibbs, man, to
Wyatt
keep it going.
Axton.
So
Yeah,
Wyatt Axton. Wyatt Axton is my favorite non-West
Rebel.
Side football. Oh man, dude. at Gibbs, he's outstanding.
Yeah.
Like, he commands the offense. He throws darts. He runs. The dude can play, and he's made Gibbs fun to watch.
Yeah, and I can't wait to see Gibbs play Anderson County for that one spot in that region. Going to be coming up in a
Yeah,
couple weeks, actually. So,
All right.
yeah, I want to see that game. Yeah.
Next up, Carter and Halls.
you know, I'm going to go with Carter on this one. That coach that they've hired, Halls has kind of been disappointing this year. Halls needed overtime to beat Fulton last week.
Yeah.
I like Carter, man. Carter's done some good things this year. Give me Carter in that game.
Okay.
I'm gonna go with Halls. I shouldn't go with Halls. I should
Good
pick
pick,
Carter.
though. So it's gonna be a
But
good game.
I'm gonna. This is my. I don't want this to be my last week picking Halls, but I feel like something tells me they're gonna win. It just. I don't know if they lose. I'm gonna be like, well, I must have been thinking about college football and think about playing with them on the video game.
No worries. Shane, who
Harder.
do you have in that one, by the way?
What? Give me Carter.
Okay, cool. Next one.
Scroll through here. They're all over the place. AE and Alcoa.
Ooh, I think
Alcoa.
Alcoa could put 70 on Austin East if they really wanted to.
Alcoa.
It's gonna be bad. Bloodbath.
Hard Valley of Bearden.
Bearden. Yeah, Bearden.
Bearden.
Powell at Clinton.
Powell. Yeah, Powell.
Yeah. And let's just go ahead and go with ours.
I'm going to tell you this. Central's going to – I want every fan right now to get it out of their head. There's not going to be no 53-0 like last year's game was. You're going to have a very focused Central defense where they lack in the offense. Might not be where it's there, but their defense is going to keep them in it for a bit. Yeah. Give me West 28. No, you know what? Sorry. Give me West 24, Central 10. That's what I say was the final score. Second half, West just takes over and wins 24-10.
I got it 24-21. I think
West
we
or Central.
I got West.
Okay.
I just think defensively, we got a little bit more of the horses. I really like the way Riley Manning was playing in coverage. I feel like Wren has got to protect the ball more.
Mm-hmm.
I think you gotta get the ball to Mills in space. I think you got to get the ball more down the field to Corey Person. Stretch the
offensive
field.
line, and you know what? I don't even fault really Parker and the receivers. The O-line's got to do their job, man. They've got to give Parker time back there.
Some time. Let the man have time to spin it. Because
I mean, 4 guys out of 5 returning, and we thought that would be a strength. It's been a disappointment. So I'm challenging that O-line to prove us wrong this week, Two-Pair and Shane O'Mac.
Yeah, it's just the offensive line has not been. It's not what we've been accustomed to. Like normally, that offensive line is moving mountains, right? They're accustomed to doing that, and I just think they struggled at times. But I'll say this: that is a fighting unit, and they're going to take what we say, and then we're going to see this explosive output. And then I'm gonna have to look like I'm eating crow on the sidelines.
Good.
I'm taping the highlights.
I hope they pat me right on my ass and say thanks for the motivation, and I'll be like, thank you for me enjoying this game tonight. That's what I want out of it. Shane, you go, bud.
I'm gonna go 27. 13. West.
Okay.
All right, guys, great show as always, man.
Great show, man.
Let's just throw that W up and Two-Pair end it, baby. It's been a nice long show, and
been a nice one, man.
Yeah, thank you, Nathan.
Man, it's Rebels with a cause, man. Throw your doves up, and the calls don't stop just because that clock strikes 0.
Exactly right, baby. Go Rebels. We'll talk about it next week. Have a great week,
See-
everybody. Enjoy that
See
football.
y'all. See y'all
Go
next Tuesday.
Rebels. You
See
bet.
y'all next week.